unnecessary panic and avoidable stigma because this disease is manageable. Instead of self-diagnosing and isolating without laboratory confirmation, the country has not recorded new cases of mpox last week, and this confirms that the situation is under control.
Vodacom's Pinky Vaithalingam has been questioned as to why she only focused on 3 people and not all those present when Senzo Meyiwa was shot. Meyiwa was shot and killed in 2014 while at singer Kelly Khumalo's parental home in Vosloorus on Gauteng's Strand. 5 men are on trial in the High Court in Pretoria for the murder of the Bafana Bafana captain. Defense counsel Thulani Mngomezulu argued that there were 7 people present during the shooting. He then asked Vaithalingam why she only analyzed data from the numbers that belonged to Kelly Khumalo, Longwe Twala, and Senzo himself.
And your evidence is only limited to 3 people that were in the house. But the request was made in respect of 8 people. Do you agree?
Yes.
The defense will give evidence that there was a communication between Tumelo Madlala and Edward Hlope. And my concern is that how can I prove in terms of Section 205 that there was such a communication?
A 24-year-old man is expected to appear in court in connection with the fatal shooting of a student at the Barberton TVET College in Mpumalanga over the weekend. It is alleged that the suspect randomly shot at the students and patrons who were attending the college's Freshers' Ball. Police say the suspect was asked to pay the entrance fee of 50 rand to gain access to the event because he is not a student. Apparently, he refused to pay and left. Police say he then returned and fired randomly at the crowd. 1 student was fatally shot and 2 others were wounded. 4 people have been arrested for public violence following a protest in Lenasia on the south of Joburg. The community of Nana's Farm Informal Settlement has been protesting over a lack of water and electricity. However, Joburg Metro Police spokesperson Xolani Fihla says the situation is now calm and some of the barricaded roads have since been reopened to traffic.
The situation was tense earlier in the morning with reports of a vehicle being torched on Abubakar Asfar Drive, but police were deployed and managed to disperse and contain the protesting crowds using rubber bullets. And officials have managed to reopen Abubakar Asfar Drive, K43 and the N12 East and are in the process of clearing and reopening the N12 West.
The Garden Route SPCA has asked the public to report any cases of seals displaying abnormal behavior. This is after a seal was euthanized after testing positive for rabies. The animal was reported to them last week after displaying aggressive behavior at the port in Mossel Bay. In a statement, the SPCA says due to other positive cases of rabies along the coastline having been reported, and in the interest of public safety, the decision was made to euthanize the seal. The SPCA says the procedure was carried out in the most humane manner. Another look at your top story at 3 o'clock. Action SA has also called for the reversal of the 200 Rand electricity surcharge imposed on residents by the city of Joburg. For SAFM News, Kemudupi Makhalemel.
And coming up in your sports this hour, France welcomes the Israel athletes at the Olympics and Johannes joins Mamelodi Sundowns from SuperSport United. I'll have more on this and other sports stories at 3:30.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105.1 FM in Johannesburg. If you're active on social media and love SAFM, we hope you'll take a moment to like or follow our SAFM page on Facebook and Twitter. These are the best places to find all the guest information, conversations, and stories you love from your favorite presenters, along with regular updates from SABC News. And don't forget, you can send your questions to feedback@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversation. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
It's Monday afternoon. I hope you had a great weekend, but certainly it's not been a dull weekend. There's no question about that. And it continues being very undull, if I can say that right now, not just regarding the US election and President Ramaphosa replying in Parliament to questions put to him, or the debates that other parties have had, and the fact that the Action SA party, as we've just heard on the news, certainly making plans to effectively coexist, if not co-govern, with the ANC in the city of Johannesburg, which can mean bad news for the incumbent mayor. We'll talk about all those things. Let me get moving rather with one of the biggest issues in the world, certainly on the weekend, right? We know this, so Joe Biden, well, he's gone, right? He's gone as the Democratic Party candidate for the US election, but he's not gone as the president. He continues being the president of the USA. And Kamala Harris, well, she gets the endorsement from Joe Biden, but she hasn't yet got the okay from her party. That may or may not come. So we'll leave that conversation for later. But let's talk about brand communication. I want to just emphasize what I saw was just quite fascinating. And that's how Time magazine and how they covered the story. I don't know if you watched it, right? So they've done it digitally, Time magazine, not in typical print form as you would expect. And immediately after news came that Joe Biden was gone, right, they put together a piece, and think of their cover, so all bright red, right? And here's one. They had an image of Biden stepping out, where all you can see is the person's legs and his shoe, and maybe just one leg, one shoe. You can't see the rest on this cover, stepping out of the cover, so to speak. And then you have Kamala Harris stepping in, and you can see the full image of her on the left side. He's on the right side, and the rest of it is just blank, right? And it's really for us to work out what is it they mean. They did a similar one about 2 weeks back, where in fact then they had a full version of Biden and her stepping in perhaps, and suggested panic is what they said. But this time it is blank, no words. And it was so powerful. And you know the story about a picture painting 1,000 words? Well, here's a good example of just that. A picture painting 1,000 words, where one picture best depicts and sums up the mood. And I can think about others as well. I certainly can think about in South Africa, for example, Mapimpi, the Springbok rugby player, when they pictured him scoring a try, and his jump when he crossed the try line effectively resembled the way a Springbok would jump. And we've seen those pictures, digitally altered or not, just magnificent. And if you look at history, certainly the Mandela, Nelson Mandela, Winnie Mandela, upon his release at Victor Verster prison, first in the air. And those are iconic pictures. And for me, when you have pictures like that, you don't have to say anything. So think about that. That's really my point for the day, that Time magazine cover spread is just something to behold. In fact, I'm going to post it just now so you can check it out right away. And perhaps you can give me your own opinions about other iconic moments that you've witnessed in the world, just depicted by one picture, no caption, nothing. One picture says it all. I'm Ashraf Garda, and that's my point. Now, what's yours?
The National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Okay, lots to talk about indeed. So perhaps you want to join me with that. One picture that will depict, something incredibly powerful, not just about Joe Biden, but anything else that you think that you'd like to share, okay? And you can tell me about it. Wherever it is, anywhere in the world. I certainly want to know about that, right? Okay, let's get cracking then with the biggest issues in our country. And we have lots to talk about for sure as we run through the day. But the one issue that is very, very imminent, and I touched on it earlier on, is what may or may not happen with regard to the city of Johannesburg. Behind that is what is seen as Action SA's change of heart in terms of who they work with and who they don't work with. Clearly, if we didn't know it before, we should know it now. May 29 is a red letter day in terms of how we've run our country. Michael Beaumont with me, Action SA's chairperson. Michael, good chatting to you as always. Thanks for joining me on the National Pulse.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to be talking with you about local politics in our city.
Absolutely, right. And it certainly it concerns all of us in terms of what happens to the city of Joburg, right? So, okay, what's your position? You've made some very important decisions as a party. What have you decided?
Well, effectively, we're looking at a situation in Johannesburg where the two largest parties are failing to provide leadership. The ANC has given us an empty suit of a mayor, and the Democratic Alliance has failed on 4 occasions to take back the city of Johannesburg with the help of us and other political parties. Action SA is the 3rd largest political party with over 40 seats in council. And we've gotten to a point where the representations made by our caucus is to say that we can no longer sit on our hands while we watch our city collapse. And when we account to our residents ahead of the 2026 elections, we need to do so with a very clear record of what we have done to arrest the situation. And we have come up with a proposal to be a constructive opposition in such a manner that we retain the accountability element that has to be done. But we do so in positions in the legislature so we can be the strongest opposition we can be, while lending our support to this government on an issue-by-issue basis with some very important conditions that I imagine we will be talking about.
Absolutely. Okay, so the opposition party that you're a part of, that remains at national level, but there are some changes within the city of Joburg, right? In terms of your position, in terms of who you work for and who you don't, rather who you work with, as opposed to for and who you don't work with. Tell me about that.
Well, certainly, and I think we've developed an opinion as a party that while we are strongly of the view that we will not go into coalition with the ANC by virtue of the public commitments we have made, post 29th of May to say we will not work with a political party in any way is a short-sighted one when we need to serve the residents in the best possible way in each municipality. In that regard, we have come up with a proposal that we think already offers benefits to the residents of Johannesburg, because the first requirement is the removal of Mayor Gwamanda. Mayor Gwamanda has proven wholly inadequate in providing leadership to the complex challenges facing the city of Johannesburg, and his compromised mayoralty has been one borne by the residents of Johannesburg, and we need to bring an end to that era. The second condition, which we believe is equally important, is the reversal of this 200 Rand per month surcharge that City Power has attached to prepaid electricity users. These are important things that we feel we need to reverse immediately and condition our support for an ongoing government upon those terms, at least in such a way where the arrangement Action SA is putting in place directly benefits the residents in ways that they experience.
Okay, so those are the two primary issues. I mean, there could be other things that will come up, but those are the two primary issues, right? So in doing so, to be able to achieve what you want, which is you want the mayor, if I understand, you want the mayor replaced, and you certainly want the $200 removed, which will get lots of thumbs up from many people, I can tell you now. To do that, you have to work with the ANC. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. So what we have indicated is that we will avail our support on an issue-by-issue basis to the ANC, which I think helps them in a situation where political parties that they have been in coalition with have been holding them to ransom in government, like with this inability to approve this loan in the city of Johannesburg. But the critical thing from our point of view, it's on an issue-by-issue basis. We don't have a coalition agreement. We're not entering the executive, and our support is not guaranteed. It's conditioned upon whether what is being proposed is good for the city or not. There's another important requirement that we've placed as our arrangements here, which is to say that Action SA is going to be bringing a string of motions to the City of Johannesburg Council that push frontline service delivery issues. We want these motions to be about securing the infrastructure investment that is required to stop the water and power outages that have plagued our city, as well as driving programs like the inner city renewal that has just disappeared since Herman Mashaba's mayoralty.
Okay. What then? So let's understand this. I've heard all the things you've said. I take it as part of you going public with this, you've actually had a conversation already with the ANC, and they are in agreement with it. Otherwise, you would not have gone public with it.
Correct. There have been conversations, and this is the agreement between our two parties. There's obviously work that needs to be done between the ANC and their coalition partners, but that does not involve Action SA directly because we do not form part of this coalition arrangement with whom they need to negotiate. But at the end of the day, I think it is not lost upon the ANC that Action SA's 44 seats are substantial in the program of stabilizing the city of Johannesburg and ultimately Ekurhuleni. And we need to ensure that we bring stability because above all else, residents want service delivery. And we are approaching a time where we need to realize that despite our orientation around national politics right now, the greatest challenges that face South Africans are of a local government nature.
Absolutely. So therefore, in terms of your issue-based agreement, and I'm choosing my words very carefully, as you can understand, in terms of your issue-based agreement with the ANC in the city of Joburg, when does that kick in and what happens next?
Well, I think the first thing is we need to see the resignation of Mayor Gwamanda, because from our point of view, until that happens and until the reversal of the 200 Rand surcharge, there's nothing for us to talk about. Once those two things have happened, then Action SA will be in a position to carry forward the idea of supporting items on an issue-by-issue basis, which I understand may begin with the approval of this loan agreement. This loan is an important part of the city's operating budget. The ANC's coalition partners have been playing politics with this loan agreement, and if we do not sort this out, the city is going to find a major gap in its budget that can only hurt the residents of the city.
I take it the ANC has agreed with you that they actually will now push for the shifting of the deck chairs, and therefore Mayor Gwamanda would be out. I mean, otherwise you wouldn't have this conversation.
Without any question, but I mean, ultimately it's for the ANC to go forward and implement those particular decisions. But I think we need to at least approach that task from a point of view of not making it about politics. It's got to be about the residents of the city. Mayor Gwamanda has been a compromise candidate that has been a cost borne by the residents of Johannesburg and purely a feature of the biggest political parties in the council not standing up and applying leadership. And this is why Action SA is taking the step.
So has the ANC then confirmed that they will actually have Mayor Gwamanda removed? Because I've also heard the leader of the Al Jamaa party, of course, he would have an interest in having the mayor not removed. He was suggesting that he's off to Joburg. This was yesterday, I think it was. And obviously he would be talking to them as well.
Oh, absolutely. The discussion has been very clear between us and the ANC. But ultimately it's for the ANC to decide. If the ANC doesn't wish to take that step, then ultimately Action SA support cannot be received. And at the end of the day, that will need to be understood as well.
But I take it they've given you their word that they would do so.
I beg your pardon?
I take it they've given you their word they would do so
Yes,
and agree. Yes,
they have. We obviously live in an environment where, people's actions are more telling than their word. So we wait to see these things happen. But ultimately, this is the conditions we put on the table, and if they are met, we can follow through.
Okay. You mentioned Mayor Herman Mashaba. Now, of course, he's a complicated personality in terms of people seeing his work. People have issues with many issues that he's had in terms of foreign nationals. There's been other issues around his views around just being this ultra-capitalist. I'm quoting him directly, and you know that, right? But there's also many who've been very praiseworthy of his previous role as the mayor. Would that be, in terms of your negotiations of this issue-based agreement, push for him to be reinstated as the mayor of the city of Johannesburg?
No, most certainly not. We have many very strong and capable people in our caucus in Johannesburg, but as we've indicated, we will not be entering the executive. We do not believe that we can co-govern with the ANC in the executive, just like we don't believe we could join the Grand Coalition nationally for the same reason. So in taking up positions, we do so only in the legislature in the form of the Speaker of Council and other positions like the Municipal Public Accounts Committee that allow us to hold government to account. We will be strong in the legislature there, but I think the point of having leadership like Herman Mashaba and others who were involved in that tenure in Johannesburg between 2016 and 19, which I think many regard to be one of the few times where progress was seen in our city, ultimately those experiences and that leadership is going to be working with our councillors to ensure there's benefit for the residents.
And lastly, very quickly, Michael, when can we expect some significant news regarding this? Official news, that is?
Say that again, please.
When can we expect some official news from the city of Joburg regarding this issue?
Well, I think the next step will be with the ANC. So we need to wait and see what takes place from within that environment.
Appreciate it. Okay.
But we've always been a party that plays open cards. When we have news, we provide it.
Thank you for your time, Chairperson of Action SA, Michael Beaumont. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated.
Chomi, I just hope I get auto-assessed this year so I can just accept.
You're so lazy. Remember, not everyone gets the auto-assessment notice.
I know, but I'm ready. I've got my e-filing password sorted, I've updated my details, and my IRP5 is ready.
Make tax matters priority by updating your personal and banking details and expect your auto-assessment notice from 1 to 14 July. If you disagree with your auto-assessment, file your return via e-filing. If you don't receive a notice, visit e-filing to submit your tax return from 15 July 2024. Visit sars.gov.za for more information. Your tax matters. SARS, at your service.
And we would buy 500 cars, and we would buy 500 more. So sell your car for the best price, and we won't think about it twice. We buy cars, we buy cars. Da-da-dun-da-da-dun-da-da-dun-da-da-da. We buy cars, we buy cars. Da-da-dun-da-da-dun-da-da-dun-da-da-da.
We Buy Cars, the easiest way to sell your car by far.
Shopping sprees, catching flights while others catch feelings, shaking that thing while sipping on some bubbles on a yacht in Dubai. Some call it living soft. You know, Njofo Njof. Tune into Sugar Baby Dating, a highly revealing documentary that lifts the lid of the sugar baby dating phenomenon and talks to girls who have a string of rich older men funding their lifestyles and the women that feel damaged by the whole experience. This Thursday at 10 p.m. Is it just a little frivolous fun, or is there a sinister side to sugar baby dating? Channel your inner curiosity with Sugar Baby Dating, 11 July at 10 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
X at SFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
So listening to Michael Beaumont, significant changes perhaps in the city of Joburg. I say perhaps. We'll see what happens. Your thoughts, your views, 0614 104 107. If you're WhatsApping, if you're calling in, it's 086 000 2032. I have my point. Well, what's your point? What's your point about the USA? Goodness, a lot happens in a matter of a couple of days, hasn't it? Or in a couple of weeks, in fact, right? So we now know that Joe Biden effectively would not be the Democratic Party candidate for election. He still is the president of the country, by the way. Let's understand all of that with Anita Powell. We chatted to her a week back, I think it is. She's the White House correspondent for The Voice of America. Anita, good chatting to you as always. Thanks for joining us on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. So first things first, how significant is Joe Biden stepping down as a candidate for the next election?
Well, this is obviously hugely significant. This is going to dominate the news cycle in the United States and indeed around the world for the next few months as we try to figure out who's going to be on the Democratic ticket. We saw shortly after the president's announcement that he would not seek re-election that he threw his support behind his vice president, Kamala Harris. But there are so many questions. What's going to happen at the Democratic convention in late August? Who's going to be the vice presidential candidate? Will we see a debate between former President Trump and whoever the Democratic candidate is, assuming it's going to be Kamala Harris, and so on and so forth? And then even so, polls are still very early on this matter. We're still not sure, but even so, this is such a polarized nation. We can say with confidence this is going to be a very tightly contested race and possibly a bit of a nail-biter near the end.
I take it, first things first, it's no surprise that Biden stepped down, right? Surely he couldn't continue, could he?
Wow. That's a really deep question, and we don't know the circumstances of his decision. What I can tell you is when he announced yesterday at 1:45 p.m., many on his staff did not know until he actually announced on Twitter that he was stepping aside. They did not know. So I think this has been a closely guarded secret within the Biden inner circle. And so he did surprise people when he made this announcement yesterday. So there are, of course, going to be people now who say, "Oh, well, I saw it coming. I knew this was happening." But I would take that with a grain of salt, Ashraf.
How much value do you attach to his endorsement of Kamala Harris's presidency as the presidential candidate for his party?
Well, there's a massive power in the incumbency. As we know, when presidents run for re-election, they have an advantage because they already have the bully pulpit. In this case, that is something that President Biden has. It remains to be seen how he mobilizes that and how he uses that bully pulpit to throw his support behind Kamala Harris. I think it's hard to say whether any voters' minds will be changed. I don't think that anybody who's in the Republican column now is necessarily going to shift to the Democratic column just because there's a different candidate. And that's what I was saying just earlier about this being such a tightly contested, polarized race in a very divided nation. So him throwing his support behind her is going to be meaningful for the people who are already supporting the Democratic platform and their policies. But I'm not sure how many voters it's going to sway from the other side of the aisle, or even how many undecided voters it's going to bring out.
Now, we do know, so he's given, and I'm saying simply, maybe I remove the word simply, he's given the endorsement to Kamala Harris publicly, if we can call Twitter a public platform. But, she hasn't got the party nod as yet, right? So is that normal? That means, when I say normal, is it likely or unlikely that the party would shift away from a position of Joe Biden's endorsement? Could they counter the endorsement? Legally, yes, but in terms of practicalities?
So you used the word normal, and I want to caution against using that word in any sense. I wouldn't bring that word a kilometer from this discussion, because nothing about this is normal. This doesn't even have parallels to 1968 when the then incumbent Lyndon B. Johnson decided not to run because that was prearranged. Sure. It's absolutely possible that Democrats could choose another candidate, or another candidate could step up at this late stage in the race. They would run into several logistical problems. One is fundraising. How are they going to rustle up it's about $100 million to run for president. And that's, of course, over the longer cycle. But how are they going to rustle up tens of millions of dollars, even on such short notice, to mobilize a campaign? So it's definitely possible. As I said, nothing here is normal, but that would take a lot of work.
I suppose the big question that just about everybody would be asking is the new candidate now a formidable candidate to achieve just one target, to knock Trump off his perch and to get to a position where she could become the president of the USA? Can she?
I think a lot of Americans are asking that right now. I mean, in some ways, the groundwork has already been laid for her. The policy positions, the attack positions that the Biden campaign have taken are just going to be repurposed to be used for the Harris campaign. So a lot of the arguments are already in place. There is one avenue that is now opened up that was not previously available to the Democrats, and that is they can now go after Trump's age and questions about his mental acuity. Will they do so now that they have a younger, more vibrant candidate? Maybe. So I think she does have a few advantages in terms of things that the Democrats could not hit Trump with previously, because they were running an 81-year-old candidate against a 77-year-old candidate. Now that we have a significantly younger candidate, she can make that argument and make those attacks against Trump, and it remains to be seen whether she will or not. So I think she has a lot of, as I said, a lot of infrastructure, a lot of campaign infrastructure around her that is going to allow the campaign to roll along smoothly without even a hitch. Mm-hmm. But can she win? I don't know.
And don't ask me either, right? Just the last thing, and just before we went on air, my producer Temba Dlamini reminded me, Ashraf, you better ask about AGOA, right? What would the implications be for South Africa regarding now the two potential candidates that we now have for the presidency? Very quickly, yeah.
Sure. So first of all, this is up to Congress, but the Biden administration supports the renewal of AGOA, and Trump, I'm not sure what his policy is on Africa. So it's a yes and an I don't know on the other side.
Okay, and that could apply for who gets the X as well in terms of this all-important vote. Good chatting to you as always, and hopefully we'll have further chats down the line. Much appreciated in terms of historic changes in terms of the leadership of one of the most significant countries in the world. Thank you for your time, as always, right? Thank you. Right, we're gonna move on to other issues that I want to get your comments on regarding the USA as well. But so feel free to give me your thoughts in terms of where we are. But that conversation with Anita Powell from Voice of America, we'll put it up as a podcast coming up ASAP. Right, just gone 3:30 news headlines with Madupi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Garda, and good afternoon. In your headlines this hour, Action SA leader Herman Mashaba says the party cannot dictate to the ANC whether or not its regional chairperson, Dada Morero, should be put forward as a candidate for the City of Joburg mayorship. The NSRI says 2 bodies were found on the north of Milnerton Beach, which could possibly be the 2 men who were swept out to sea by a rip current at Milnerton's Lagoon Beach in Cape Town yesterday. And a court in the UAE has sentenced 3 Bangladeshis to life imprisonment and 53 others to 10 years behind bars for holding protests across the Gulf state against their own government. Details of these and other stories, 4 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 northbound in Woodmead has a crash reported before Buccleuch interchange. The N1 northbound in Midrand is slow moving towards New Road, and Eskempa-Hleli Drive northbound in Pretoria has delays towards Mood Street. In KZN, the M7 westbound has a crash reported before Bergville Road exit at Queensborough. The N2 southbound is queuing towards Spaghetti Junction, and Umgeni Road eastbound is slow moving through Springfield Park. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound has flooding reported before the N7 highway bridge. The left lane is closed. The N7 Jakes Hadwell Drive northbound is queuing on the ramp to the N1 inbound. Brackenfell Boulevard northbound is slow moving at the N1 highway, and Plain Street is closed opposite the National Parliament building. With your traffic update, I'm Irma Jean.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
Right, to me, our Minister of Sport. So let me guess, what's the big story? Just give me one guess.
Okay, one guess.
Olympic
I'm
Games.
giving you one, of course.
It can only be the Olympic. How many days to go?
We've got 4 days to go, and it's getting underway on Friday. A very good afternoon to our listeners. And we start things off, with the Olympics, as I did say. 4 days to go until the Paris Olympics, and French Foreign Minister Stéphane Sejourne says that Israeli athletes are welcome at the Olympics. This is after a member of the French parliament sparked outrage by urging them to stay away. Now, Israel's team left for the games today with a huge presence of security, as they are expecting a lot of outlash when they arrive in France. Meanwhile, SA midfielder distance runner Prudence Khodiso says that she's avoiding the pressure of medal expectations in her debut Olympic Games. She clocked a world-leading time of 1 minute 57 seconds in Morocco and an impressive 1 minute 58 seconds in Norway. But she says that she remains cautious about her chances and refrains from making any promises that she might not be able to fulfill.
Well, I'm not expecting much. I just want to go there and enjoy and just make it to the final. And anything can happen there. Yeah, that's it. I feel like I don't want to put pressure on myself, and I don't want to give people false hopes. I just want to go there and enjoy.
Well, she'll be running in the 800 meter, and one thing for sure is that I'm expecting her to do well. I know she is going to do well. Elsewhere, NBA's all-time leading point scorer LeBron James will be the male flag bearer for Team USA at the games. He was picked by his fellow US Olympians, while the female flag bearer will be announced tomorrow. Don't forget that you can catch all the live action on SABC Sport from the 26th of July to the 11th of August. In football, Mamelodi Sundowns have confirmed the signing of defender Keegan Johannes from SuperSport United on a multi-year deal. In recent seasons, Sundowns have successfully brought in several key players from SuperSport, including Tebogo Mokoena, Ronan Williams, Thapelo Maseko, Aubrey Mudiba, Grant Kakana, and Sipho Mbule. Now, the latest inclusion of Johannes aims to strengthen their defensive line further. Then in rugby, the Cheetahs have confirmed that Springbok winger Zbunkosi has tested positive for a bad banned substance, and he faces the potential of a 4-year ban because he tested positive for an anabolic steroid. The 28-year-old could be banned for 4 years if his B sample also tests positive, which is very unfortunate. He was withdrawn on Friday from the franchise's Currie Cup match against the Bulls. Then in motorsport, Aston Martin has begun testing the new hypercar with which they will return to Le Mans in 2025. The British outfit joins several manufacturers who have returned to the World Endurance Championship following the introduction of the new hypercar class. Now, the last outright win for Aston Martin at Le Mans was back in 1958, with 2025 set to mark their first tilt at the top-tier race since 2011. Rounding things up with women in sports today, the spotlight is on Chiwene Murifi, the former Mamelodi Sundowns midfielder. If you haven't heard, is now going to ply her trade in Turkey. She will now play for Beylerbeyispor in the Turkish Women's League, and she says they welcome her very nicely. She's already done some training with the team, and she says that she can already feel the difference between how women's football is done in South Africa versus in Turkey. And she's not saying that Mamelodi Sundowns were not doing anything great. Obviously, they are one of the best when it comes to women in the country. But she says when it comes to the technical team, it's much more bigger, and therefore each player is focused on accordingly.
Okay,
So a big congratulations to her.
I saw some of the pictures of her, so
Yeah.
let's wish her well. Two big questions for you. How many medals do you expect South Africa to collect?
Listen, the most that we've collected is 10 medals, and that was at the Rio, right? And we know that at Tokyo it was only 3. So the least we can do is aim for 10 again.
10, 3, somewhere in between there.
Yes, somewhere
Okay,
there.
well, you know, just about.
Yeah.
Right, second question, very quick one. Will the Minister of Sport, not you, the other Minister of Sport, will he be attending?
Absolutely. He's leaving for the Olympics on the 21st of June.
Oh, he's going to be the ultimate cheerleader. I have no doubt about that. Kaiten McKenzie. Right, more sports in an hour. Yeah?
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Nelson Mandela once said,
"It is in your hands to create a better world for all who live in it."
SAFM urges you to identify those in need around you and to do what you can to make a difference to them. Tata Mandela went further to say, what counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made to the lives of others that will determine the significance of the life we led. SAFM celebrates Mandela Month. The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
I'll take your calls on some of the issues we've spoken about. Certainly the Joe Biden issues. What about Action SA in the city of Johannesburg? Very clear that they want the mayor removed. And they say, in fact, the ANC has given them their word that they would do just that. That is significant, isn't it? Let's talk about other things. By the way, we're going to play the clip from the president in responding as part of the parliamentary debate to Julius Malema. That comes up shortly, right? So listen out for that. Now, you may know about this one. President Ramaphosa has also signed into law the Pension Funds Amendment Bill. And that bill, which is now law, is key for the implementation of the two-pot retirement system, which takes effect, spring day, 1st of September. Now, the signature into law of the bill gives legal certainty to the retirement industry, which has been implementing the necessary changes. What does this mean, certainly for those that should be retiring? We get reaction from the Labour Union, COSATU, on this issue. Matthew Parks with me, the COSATU's parliamentary coordinator. Matthew, good chatting to you as always. You're on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Right. I take it you support this, right?
Yes, we do. We're very happy. The two-part pension reforms was first proposed by COSATU in 2020 when the UIF was struggling to pay millions of workers and workers had pension funds available to them. But even beyond COVID, it still made sense because workers are drowning in debt. And right now the law is very inflexible that it only allows workers access to their pension funds, which is their money, when they retire or when they resign or they lose their job. So the perverse scenario that often many workers who are drowning in debt through no fault of their own, but simply because of the stagnant economy, the rising cost of living, high levels of unemployment, so having to support unemployed relatives. So many workers often resign and cash out everything. And that creates a real crisis because those workers are then unemployed, they've cashed out their pension fund, and they also then end up having nothing left. So the new reform is going to give workers the options to choose to access part of the pension funds whilst remaining working. It's going to also help, whilst giving relief, also help to give workers more choices and actually to boost savings as well. Because right now, most workers, when they reach retirement, have got nothing left because they've cashed out repeatedly and they've also had to resign. So it's trying to fix some of those things, and I think we're quite excited now. The president signed it, now preparing for moving forward on 1 September.
And in terms of the president signing it, I mean, so from a one-pot to a two-pot system, was that applicable to people across the board or specifically some certain categories of workers?
It applies to everybody. Whether you work in the public sector or the private sector, it applies to all pension provident funds. It's compulsory. So no pension fund can choose to opt out of it. But of course, as a worker, you don't have to access the money if you don't want to. If on the 1st of September you decide, you know what, I actually don't need to access 10% up to 30,000 Rand, you can leave it, you can access it at a later date. If going forward, when you're entitled to once a year to a third of your future savings, you decide you don't want to touch it for a year or 2 years, allow it to roll over, to accumulate, you can do so. So the idea is to give workers choices, to free up some money for them, and to see how they can use their money in a way which addresses their family needs and their issues.
And just so that we can be clear, I mean, so if they choose the option of drawing on that first pot, so to speak, right? Clarity, just how much can they take in terms of maximum?
So on 1 September, you can withdraw 10% up to 30,000 Rand. So there's a 30,000 cap.
Okay.
And then after that, once a year, you can access in the future of a third of your future savings. You will retain access to your existing savings, which you've accumulated before then. That's called the vested rights pot. But going forward, you could access up to 30,000 on 1 September, and in the future, from next year, a third of future savings.
Okay, so if your savings were 200,000 Rand, you could get the 30,000 immediately, and then if it's, let's just say it still remains 200,000, whatever, you could get a third of that, which is like 60,000 odd in the next year if you choose to, right? I mean, that I think helps. Is there a danger to that? Is there a danger to that in fact, they could draw on that, and that by the time they totally retired, then they have no money? I understand the need for the urgency for reasons that we all know about.
So the difficulty right now is that people already do so, and you find that a person has changed jobs maybe 5 times in their career, and then when they hit retirement, they've got nothing left. So the benefit here is that we're going to be preserving 2/3 for retirement or for when you lose your job for for example.
Okay.
So right now we're not even saving 2/3. So that's a major change that we're actually beginning to save now. And currently we don't do that at all.
All right.
So that's why many workers retire.
Okay, got that. Let's leave it at that. I see there's a big sound coming through the system. Let's leave it at Matthew Parks, the COSATU parliamentary coordinator. I think you got the gist of that. So they've got they can draw on 10% up to a maximum of 30,000 rands on the 1st of September, then up to a third 1 year later, right? That's what they can draw on, which allows this two-pot system some relief. What do you understand by all of that as a person who's got a pension fund in terms of how that may change your life? I certainly want to know. And would you like to maybe share, and you can be anonymous if you like, to share anecdotally, the experiences you have as an older person getting to a position where you're not retired, but that could happen in 2-3 years' time. But the pressure on you to survive beyond your salary is just great because of so many issues. So what do you make of this option? Do you think it's a good thing? Are there any pitfalls down the line regarding this issue? Where do you stand? And perhaps the broader issue is like, and maybe this is the serious one, like, honestly, how do you make ends meet? How do you make ends meet? I think if I did a random hands up with every one of us here, we'd all say we struggle no matter what you earn, primarily not just because of your earning powers or diminished powers, but because of the increased powers of the cost of living. It is just frightening. So how do you make ends meet? 086 000 2032 to call in and share for me your how do you make ends meet story. or to WhatsApp, text voice note 0614 104 107. But you also know you can tweet out or post on Facebook too. Just find SAFM Radio, find myself, Ashraf Garda. I'd like to get your original thoughts on that, as well as the Action SA issue regarding the city of Joburg, as well as the issue regarding the USA and the changes that may or may not occur there. I'll take your calls in a moment.
Things people wish they knew about being parents and parenting. And some of the messages that we got were, listen, nobody told me that this is such an expensive exercise.
Yeah, very true, very true. So I think actually for us, I think as a nation, savings is something that's very, very difficult for a lot of people. And taking into consideration all the things that are happening in the markets with the interest rates and all the inflation coming into play. And also another thing, I think savings is a skill we need to master from a very, very young age. Just like that, with parents coming in, is that someone needs to tell you that kids are kind of expensive to bring onto earth and everything. So I think that's where conversation starts there, is that education around finances.
Musa Ngumalo, who's with Imbewu Financials.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, let's get to some of the calls, calls, voice notes, all of them connected in terms of Sipo saying Joe Biden stepping down is good news. I hope Trump wins so that the war between Russia and Ukraine can come to an end, because in my opinion, Biden didn't handle the matter in the smartest way. When Trump was in the office, things were better, except that the media was talking all the nonsense about him. Got that, Sipo? Right, here's another thought on Joe Biden.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. I personally think U.S. President Joe Biden did the right thing by stepping down and endorsing his deputy, Kamala Harris, to take over. I think it will be a moral boost to Democrats to win the election against former President Donald Trump.
Okay, got that. Thank you for that one. Let's get another one. In fact, there's lots of support about for Biden's position.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. This is Makwara Shinyazo from Teando. You know, Ashraf, I think we should applaud Biden, for taking the step of resigning or stepping down as the candidate of Democrats. That is what we should applaud. If you know that you can't hold on because of your age, you need to step down and allow other young people to take over. But it is a different story here in Africa, because we have leaders who want to hang in power or stay in power forever till death, Here in Africa, I think Africa should take note from the Americans. That leadership is all about leading, and also when you know that your energy is no more, or you are incapable of saving the citizens, you need to step down and give space to the others to take over.
Okay, but
Africa should take note from Biden.
Well, I don't know about that, because I think you're partially right, but maybe some could say, why would Biden be the president in the first place, considering the age? Why did he even stand, considering where he is, not just age-wise, but health-wise in the first place? Just you think about that. Let's get to further calls. We move on to some issues back home in South Africa, in the city of Joburg. Bonakele in Cape Town, hello. Bonakele, hello. You're live on the air.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, okay, great stuff. Okay, what's your point?
Look, my point is this Action SA that is going to vote with the ANC to ask the Altama, what is this? Yeah. Do you think, does it make sense? Because for me personally, it's confusing. I don't know is this something that we can expect in future, where an Action SA is an opposition party. Why they don't do this vote with their counterparts? That is the other MK party and EFF. You understand? But why voting with the ANC? Because ANC is within the GNU. So is this something that we can expect in future? Or people must understand or learn to understand in future, if the opposition party will vote with another party that is in the GNU, we must not be shocked and surprised. as what ANC is going to do right now.
Okay, got that.
So
Well,
all in all-
I mean, to answer the question, got that. Thank you so much for that. Right? In terms of I think we're expecting it now. It's happening right away. If we had a minority government, this is what would have happened every time there's a big issue. That means the parties have no alliances, no allegiances, but they vote on an issue-based vote. So there's an issue that gets tabled, they decide whether they want to agree or not, and they vote. And then tomorrow they do something else. So they could be with the ANC on a Monday and against them on a Tuesday, for example, on an issue. In this case here, I mean, the question, can we expect more? Nothing should ever surprise you in politics. Why should we be surprised? That's the way politics goes, right? Okay, let's get to the issues of the pensions. Temba in Quebec. Hi, Temba.
Hi, Ashraf, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very good. Good talking to you, man. Right, go ahead, your point.
Ashraf, this is daylight robbery, man. This is really, it's a shame that there is nobody, no union, nobody who stands up for the poor people whose money will be held by investment houses forever. And they will get peanuts from that money on a monthly basis. But they can do better with their capital in their hands.
So where? But I mean, look, what I'm trying to say, all pensions, they mature at a certain age. He's the COSATU position, and there's someone talking, I mean, they represent workers, right? The money would be invested elsewhere, but the money then invested accrues clearly, so you benefit from that. I mean, otherwise, if you're going to give it to them in advance, then there's no pension any longer. They just have all the money in one shot, which means they can't grow that capital, can they?
No, they can. They can go into business. They can build their own houses and leave their kids with legacy behind.
Okay.
If they continue to earn 7,000 rand to 13,000 rand a month, what will that mean in their lives? Having worked for 60 years.
Okay, I hear you. Accepting not everybody goes into business. I think we must just understand that part. Many people, many people want to give their monies to someone that gives them advice and grows it. Yeah.
But the point, Ashraf, I'm saying daylight robbery because this money is for capital to have access to this money, to invest and build their own businesses out of this money.
All right, I got that.
This is the truth of the matter.
Okay, I got that. Thank you for your point. And yeah, would you, as the audience, would you like to contest that point and you have your own views from that caller from Quebec? Give me your thoughts. I mean, I'd love to know. Again, this is what we do here on the National Pulse. It is the National Pulse, which means we reflect whatever it is. You and I, we both have our fingers on the pulse. So what does your pulse rate tell you about some of the biggest issues, including the issues of the pensions? Let's move on to other issues. Now, you know that Parliament opened up on Thursday. There's been the President's speech. There's been responses in terms of the debates from Thursday, and the President, Ramaphosa, responding today. So this is what we're going to do. You may be aware that in responding today, he spoke directly referencing to Julius Malema, and he spoke in a mixture of Sepedi and Sesotho as well as Tshivenda, his native language, I understand. So we're going to play that clip in those languages, and I'll give you a translation just after that.
Honorable Malema, nale wena re na lo hwetša nako ya gore re dule fatshe re bolele. Ke nyaka gore re iphe nako mokgomana mošabi re ke re dule fatshe re bolele ka politiki ga golo politiki yane ya kgale e ke bonang gore a o e kwešišiše gabotse e ke bonang kare o na le wa itse wa fatlega ke nyaka gore re dule fatshe go etsetsa eng go etsetsa gore ha o ema mo o iphe nako ya gore o bolele ka seo se tlaisang ditaba tsa rena kwa pele. You know, o ile wa ema mo some 2 years ago wa roga papa wa ka wa re papa wa ka ne ile leponisa. And yes, I'm proud to have been the son of a policeman, a very good policeman. Ke boletse le khunu wa hao, and nka se ke ka ema mo ka rogang khunu wa hao ka ba ne ke mo tlhompa le wena ke a go tlhompa. Ke bolela so ka obane go tshwanetse gore ha re le politiking re itehesi sa uri re thomphane re sumbedze uri re ne sine ra khosita ndi zwine zwa ḓo isa lushaka lwashu phanḓa. Hezwi zwe wa zwi amba hafha ndo wana uri a zwi ngo fara nṋe fhedzi hammbi, zwo fara na vhathu vhanzhi hammbi. So kha ri dzule fhasi nṋe na iwe ri ambe zwavhuḓi ngauri holu lushaka ri nga lu fhaṱa hani. Ni helela kwala. Ndi a livhuwa.
Right, so let me give you a recap. So he spoke, the president, that is, in a mixture of three languages, Sepedi, Sesotho, as well as Chivenda, right? Now, this is what he said. He started by requesting that they should meet and talk about politics, they meaning himself and Julius Malema, particularly politics from the apartheid era. The president then said that this conversation about politics will help Malema to make points that will take the country forward whenever he is on the podium in parliament. Ramaphosa then goes into an incident that happened some 2 years ago where Julius Malema insulted the president, that is, by speaking about his father, who was a policeman. The president, Ramaphosa, then said, "Yes, I am proud to be a child of a policeman, a very good policeman." Then he continued. Ramaphosa then says that he's had conversations with Julius Malema's grandmother. He says he would never take the podium in parliament and insult Malema's grandmother because he respects her and respects Malema himself. The president, Ramaphosa, then says he's mentioning all of this because he wants to make a point that in politics people should respect each other and make sure they don't insult their family names. Ramaphosa continued saying what Malema said about his father not only upset him, but it upset many other people. And this is why it's important for them to sit down and have that conversation. Right, so that's the views of the president. Now, you may have heard it live, you may understand the language, but you certainly get the gist of the translation. What do you make of that conversation and where that's going to? As always, fingers on the pulse, because it's certainly the national pulse here. WhatsApp 0614104107, or else you can call into 086 0002032. Don't forget you can tweet out using the hashtag #TheNationalPulse, right? And there's a range of people wanting to talk about many things, but let me just pick up another one on the Action SA issue.
Ashraf, good afternoon. You know, I don't understand the move by Action SA because the current mayor was installed by the ANC. So if you are going to remove the puppet of the ANC and then still allow the ANC to install another mayor that comes from their side, I don't see how will that change things. Things will continue the same. So Action SA really, I don't know what is it. At least if they were saying they want to come up with, go to another political party's DA, come up with another mayor that is different. The guy was a puppet of the ANC, and the ANC will continue to do what they want in that city. Thank you.
Okay, there we are. Well, you know what? Politics are politics. Honestly, why would you be surprised about all political parties changing their positions? Many of the parties said they will never talk to A, B, C, and then they're talking to them. Do you agree with them? I mean, whatever, but that's what they do. Parties do that.
Atra, good afternoon, brother. It's Sonabe from Hermanas. What Action SA is doing in Johannesburg, it's not something new. We had that before when the EFF was joining the DA. Malema was on the news when he said it's better the devil that you know that than the ANC. So it's not something new. It's just that the media is just trying to create something out of nothing. Otherwise, it's nothing new. The Action SA, they've got a right to decide which party they want to go with, as the EFF did before when they choose a DA instead of the ANC. And also that was their right also to do so. But the media, they like just to create something out of nothing. Thanks, Afra.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm glad you're calling from Hermanus. We'll do some whale watching with you one of the days. Just invite me. I'll certainly come there. In terms of the media making something out of nothing, I think there I disagree with you. In fact, Action SA is making something out of something. They believe that the current executive mayor is not doing his job, and therefore the city of Joburg, the most significant economic city in the country, is suffering for that reason. So therefore they're prepared to bend their own principles and work with the ANC. They're making something out of something. The media, as always, is just reflecting that. Think about that. Let's get the news now. It's 4 o'clock. Here's Madupi.
Thank you very much, Ashraf. The top stories this hour, Mashaba Mam on the next candidate for Joburg Mayor, and 2 bodies swept out to sea in Cape Town found. A very good afternoon. Action SA leader Herman Mashaba says the party cannot dictate to the ANC whether or not its regional chair Dada Morero should be put forward as a candidate for the city of Joburg mayorship. This as Morero is expected to replace Kabelo Kwamanda as the mayor, while Action SA is expected to assume the speaker position in the council. Mashaba says the next Joburg mayor should be able to serve its residents well.
Obviously, we've not really discussed with the ANC who they must put in as the mayor. The only thing we said, the current mayor that we don't want. We've got it proof that I think our caucus leaders already indicated to you this person, this job is way beyond his capacity. So we are not going to dictate to the ANC who they must put forward. The only thing we said to the ANC, please give us someone who can save the residents of the city of Johannesburg.
Action SA has also called for the reversal of the 200 Rand electricity surcharge imposed on residents by the city of Joburg. Here's the party's Michael Beaumont.
It is also conditioned upon the reversal of the 200 Rand surcharge imposed by City Power on prepaid electricity users across our city, the heartless imposition of which has been responded very negatively to by the residents of Johannesburg, who all exist under economic pressures like everybody else in our country.
The pre-trial conference of former ANC Limpopo Treasurer General Denim Msiza and his 13 co-accused has been postponed to the 14th of August in the High Court in Pretoria. They're implicated in the looting of VBS Bank and they face multiple charges. The defense team today filed a temporary stay of prosecution application and separation of trials. This after a series of postponements and delays in Limpopo. 14 municipalities in Limpopo, the Northwest and Gauteng lost nearly 1.6 billion rand after investing with the bank. NPA spokesperson Mthunzi Maga.
When all parties were ready for the pre-trial conference to proceed, we were taken by surprise with the application by Advocate Abrahams in respect of Mr. Matsepe and Mr. Msiza, which application relates to a temporary stay of prosecution citing failure to provide them with information sufficient for them to defend themselves. We believe that it is just a waste of time and we will vigorously oppose that application. The second application relates to separation of trials, which we believe to be prejudicial to the state, as our witnesses would have to testify twice in 2 separate trials, and that's unfair.
A 42-year-old man has become the second suspect to be arrested in connection with the murder of 30-year-old Disebo Musupa from Welkom in the Free State. Musupa's body was exhumed by forensic investigators after it was discovered in a used grave at the Welkom cemetery on Friday. The first suspect, who was arrested on Friday, is appearing in the Welkom Magistrates Court today. Police spokesperson Mutanzi Makhele.
On 21st of July 2024 on Sunday, around 1800 in the evening, an intelligence-led information took Bloemfontein Tactical Response Team TRT and Mangaung detectives to a house in Phase 4 Bloemfontein, where a 42-year-old suspect was found and arrested.
The NSIR says 2 bodies were found on the north of Milnerton Beach, which could possibly be the 2 men swept out to sea by a rip current at Milnerton's Lagoon Beach in Cape Town yesterday. NSRI spokesperson Craig Lambinon says that the men aged 19 and 20 went missing when they allegedly chased after a soccer ball and landed into difficulty in the surf. Lambinon says that members of the public discovered the 2 bodies this morning during the low spring tide.
On arrival on the scene, the 2 bodies that may be those of the 2 young men from yesterday's incident at Lagoon Beach were recovered by police officers and by police divers and taken into the care of Government Health forensic pathology services. It must be noted that formal identification by families is protocol.
And a court in the UAE has sentenced 3 Bangladeshi nationals to life imprisonment and 53 others to 10 years in jail for holding protests across the Gulf state against their own government. The BBC's Sebastian Usher.
According to the state news agency, verdicts and sentences were delivered the very next day. The demonstrations had been held by Bangladeshis showing their support for weeks of mass protests in their home country against a quota system that allocated up to 30% of government jobs to relatives of those who fought in Bangladesh's War of Independence in 1971.
The top story at 4, Action SA leader Hemen Mashaba says the party cannot dictate to the ANC whether or not its regional chair Dada Morero should be put forward as a candidate for the city of Joburg mayorship. For SAFM News, Kemudupi Makhalemele.
In your sports this hour, Butler not in a hurry to take up PSL jobs. Athletics South Africa president gives clarity over Adams and Maswangai, and McLaren boss never doubted Norris as a team player. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, Rietfontein Road southbound in Boksburg is queuing at North Rand Road. The N1 northbound in Midrand has a crash reported near New Road. In Pretoria, Eskom Pahleli Drive northbound has delays towards Moot Street, and Steve Biko Street northbound has delays towards Lavender Road. In KZN, the N3 westbound is queuing towards Spaghetti Junction. The M7 westbound has a crash reported before the Belleville Road exit at Queensborough. The N2 southbound is queuing towards Spaghetti Junction, and Umgeni Road westbound is slow moving through Springfield Park. In Cape Town, the M3 Philip Khosana Drive outbound has a crash reported before Hospital Bend. The N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound is queuing towards Hospital Bend. The M5 southbound is slow moving towards Racecourse Road exit. The N7 Checks Harold Drive northbound is queuing on the ramp to the N1 inbound, and Chapman's Peak Drive is closed due to rockfalls. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 106.2 FM in Tohoyandou. What do you want from an insurer? Affordable premiums and awesome service when you claim, right? Here's what real clients say about OUTsurance.
My name is Mpo. I'm 42 years old from Cape Town. I pay $495 per month for my Ford Fico 2014 with OUTsurance Essential Cover.
SMS out to 30754 and see if you can save. But you also want to know your claim is going to be settled without any issues. Every year, the Ombudsman for Short-Term Insurance releases a report showing how the country's insurers did. And when it came to claims, of all the major insurers, OUTsurance has had the fewest complaints referred by clients to the Ombudsman for the past decade. Now that's awesome claim service.
I'm not surprised OUTsurance had such few complaints because in my experience with OUTsurance, everything has been amazing.
Real savings, really happy clients. Go to outsurance.co.za right now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
S3 is bringing you the best in Indian cinema every Sunday at 2 p.m. Laugh, dance, get drawn into the drama, revved up with the action, and maybe, just maybe, shed a little tear. Catch Gagi on the 7th of July, Selfie on the 14th, Prince on the 21st, and Laila Majnu on the 28th. It's Indian cinema like you've never seen it before. Channel your best entertainment with Indian cinema only on S3. Open up.
S3. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Certainly appreciate the many calls we've had on the biggest issues so far today, which is the issues of the two-pot pension system and now Ramaphosa's reply or response to Julius Malema, the issue of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and what that means, and Action SA's position to effectively shift out the mayor of the city of Joburg from his position, and that can only happen via a type of arrangement, and I say a type of arrangement or a so-called arrangement with the African National Congress. All those developing stories impacts the National Pulse, no question about that. Now, here's one that's been going on for a long, long time. We've had a month break, so we resume. That's the issue of the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial. It's resumed after a long period. So let's recap in terms of where we are, what's happened, and what's going to happen next. With us, as always, covering the stories, the SABC News reporter Pearl Magubani. Pearl, appreciate your time here on the National Pulse. Hello.
Good afternoon, Ashraf, and to the listeners.
Thank you. So you've had a long break, right? What is the break for, firstly?
Well, it's just a normal recess that, court takes every once in a while. They just go on a break. It's just to, I guess, relax, recuperate, and recharge. And that's all it is for. So now we're back. And we had... continuing from June, Pinky Faithlingam from Vodacom still on the stand.
Okay, so perhaps maybe just take us through some of the highlights of today then?
Well, Faithlingam spent a lot of time unpacking data in the last month of where the accused were, or towers that placed some of the accused in Vosloorus in the crime scene. And today she made mention of phones that belonged to three people, that being Kelly Kumalo, Senzo Meyiwa, and Longo Twala, that their phones pinged at a tower in Vosloorus. However, this led to criticism from the defense, who have started their cross-examination, particularly Tulani Ngomezulu, accusing the state of omitting some information, as she only mentioned three people that were in the house that day, whereas there were 7 people who were present when the alleged 2 intruders entered. He then went out to pull out an affidavit from 2014, where the police had written to Vodacom requesting Section 205 for all the phones for the people that were inside the house, as well as data for a number belonging to Mandisa Mkhize, who was married to Meyiwa at the time.
Okay, and so that's quite interesting. Anything else that you'd like to share?
Well, we're still going to have Pinky back on the stand tomorrow. But Ngomezulu has wrapped up his cross-examination. We have Charles Nisi, who said he's going to be long in his cross-examination and requested to start first thing in the morning.
Okay, and we're going to certainly cover that story once again with you fairly regularly. So I'll leave you to doing just that, Pearl Magubani. Appreciate your time. We'll chat tomorrow.
Thank you, Ashraf.
Thank you. There we are. Pearl has been covering the story for a good few years, in fact. SABC's news reporter on the Senzo Meyiwa trial, now that it's resumed after about a 1-month recess. We're going to talk to AfriForum after this.
You're listening to the National Pulse on SAFM. The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, further comments. In fact, here's one of them regarding the president.
Ashraf, I don't understand Chivenda, but because I'm Xhosa speaking. But when the president spoke in Chivenda, he felt so relatable, and I feel like that's something that has been missing under his administration as the president of the ANC and the country. So I think that piece of magic where he spoke in his mother tongue, he should actually do more of that so that he can garner more, support from people. Because I feel like he's not relatable to people. He always speaks in English, and I think that piece of magic that he did, he should continue.
Okay.
Thank you, Ludo in Cape Town.
What an interesting point. That piece of magic, you've said it twice. Do you have a point? I mean, clearly, I think when anybody speaks in their mother tongue, they're more naturally able to express themselves. So here's the bigger question. Has he lost, or does he lose personality when he speaks in a language that he is fluent in, English, he speaks it all the time, but does he lose the fluency, and therefore should he speak more in his mother tongue, as you've suggested? But in doing so, he's more natural, but does he then compromise others in terms of lending a message to a broader audience? It's complicated. It always is, I think, when you have a country or a people or an audience that is multi-language or multilingual in terms of that position. Here's another comment on the two-pot system.
Hi, good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and whoever is there. It's Kali. My take on this, man, I concur with your last WhatsApp caller. You know, this is humbug. They want to control your money now, whoever the authorities. Why two-pot system and so on when it was going on smoothly? They can offer advice, but not to control your money. You know, this 1/3, 2/3 business, nah, no go area. Have a good day.
Okay, maybe we need to just get more thought on who controls the money, meaning when you sign into a pension fund, you know there's a pension administrator. That's my understanding. I mean, it's voluntary. If you don't want to, you don't have to. I would think so. But maybe if somebody knows more about that aspect, I'll chat to Keys, my producer, to say maybe we need to find out more about it. I think it's an important issue. Here's another comment on the pension fund.
Hi, Ashraf. It's Hani from Johannesburg. I just want to comment on this new pension fund rule. So although it's a good thing that you now have the ability to choose if you want to draw some of those funds or if you want to preserve everything for your retirement, the one thing you have to consider is that it will be taxed at your marginal tax rate. So in other words, it will be taxed at your normal salary rate that you are taxed on. It will not be taxed on the 18% when you normally resign from your job. So it's a big tax implication on that. So that's the only comment I wanted to make.
Okay, tell you what, we need to have a serious conversation on pension funds. Again, all those issues, who manages, who administers, the issues of taxation, when you draw in advance, and taxations when you get the big pot. At the end of it all, what that really means. And because clearly lots of people have many views on this. You know why? It affects you directly.
Hi, Ashraf, Anonymous from Mpumalanga. Ashraf, I think the current system was fine. Let me decide with my pension. Not someone comes and tells me that I'm entitled to 33%, even when it's 30,000 rands. And I hear Matthew Park saying next year you will be able to cash out on 33%. No. Currently, from what I've read so far, it is still kept up to 30,000 rands, minimum 10%. So this is actually daylight robbery. And it seems like there's no response from anyone in South Africa. But then again, I think it's because most of the workers are working for government and they hardly leave government. But for those who are in the private sector who understand that moving also is part of growth, and also taking this money and investing it on your own. So it's shocking, Ashraf. Anonymous from Mpumalanga.
Okay, thanks for that, Anonymous. Well, you're saying it's shocking. So what's interesting about this, in this case, it's actually a Labour Party that moved for it in the first place. I'm talking about COSATU, Labour Organisation rather, not party, Labour Movement. And they very, very satisfied with that. So why would they be satisfied? I'm just trying to understand it better. And then many others think it's not the case. So perhaps we need another take on this issue, because I think it's that important. Right, here's another one about the Malema Ramaphosa issue.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. I think when the president lectured Malema in parliament, it's just to make him aware that he left the ANC very young to open up his party. He was not yet matured in politics. So he just went and he's just saying things without knowing, because of the followers he has, and the ones that are behind him, which is the EFF. They're all young. They don't know anything about politics. They're just saying things anywhere, anyhow. So just for him to get him back so that he can learn more. And I think it was a good advice. Thank you.
Okay, got that one. Right. I think what we'll do is we'll take the next call in just a moment. But just one on Biden.
Ashraf, I hear the caller saying we need to applaud Joe Biden for stepping down. It's a bit like applauding the chef for bringing food that's cooked when you're at the restaurant. It's incredible that these two old toppies are the ones floating to the top in the cauldron of American politics. He should have stepped down a long time ago for the benefit of his party, and that is something that he did not do in time. Thanks.
Well, I hear that. That's why I've said something when we say we applaud them, or some say, look at them, they know when to step down. I'm saying they've also stepped up at a time when perhaps they should not have stepped up. When you're not in good health, you're not in good health. I'm not talking about age. I'm talking about just good health and not good health. And he certainly stepped up even when he was not in good health. I'll get further comments, but we're certainly going to chat to Kali Kriel from AfriForum in a moment about their challenge to Dr. John Slope's appointment to the Constitutional Court after this.
Here he comes. Hello, guys. You're so dramatic. Hey, Bo, it's not me. It's the extra styling kit, the leather seats with the red finish. It's the tow bar, all coming standard with my red Isuzu badge. Wow, now that is extra.
Why be standard when you can get the all-new Isuzu D-Max X-Rider from just 8,742 Rand. Prime less 3.5%, 0% deposit, 40% balloon, and 72 months to pay. Get yours today. Finance is subject to approval. Isuzu Finance, a product of Westbank, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
It's Winter Carnival at Food Lovers Market. Buy 3 1-litre You First odorless coconut oil tubs for 120 Rand. Any 3 bottles of Cross and Blackwell mayo, All Gold tomato sauce or Mrs. Bowles chutney for 98 Rand. And any 2 Omo Auto washing powder 2 kg, liquid 1.5 litre or capsule 16s for 149 Rand. Valid till this Sunday at Food Lovers Market. Winter Carnival now on.
Nick is hiding a dark secret. For 20 years, everything has been going according to plan. Until now. He has the perfect wife, Maya, a smart, ambitious defense lawyer who is on the verge of becoming the first black director of public prosecutions. Amidst the biggest case of her career and having her life under intense scrutiny, Maya learns of Nick's dark secret and how she was one of Nick's targets 20 years ago. The veil of secrecy will fall. Nothing stays hidden forever. Betrayal, secrets, suspense. Oh, the drama. This is Undercover, Mondays to Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on S3. Channel your best drama with BBC Primetime, only on S3. Open up.
S3. The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Certainly one of the biggest issues to emerge from the May 29 election is the former judge, impeached judge, John Slope, one joining the MK party and then becoming a major player in that party in Parliament on the one end, and then being appointed to the Judicial Services Commission. And we know that part, right? And there's been lots of conversation about that. Why should he serve on a commission that effectively removed him in the first place? Well, not serve on the commission. He would be part of the grouping that would appoint judges, right? So one of the organizations that don't like it at all, basically, is AfriForum, and they've challenged Dr. John Slope's JSC appointment to the Concord. So let's find out more about that with Kali Kriel, the AfriForum CEO. Kali, good chatting to you on the National Pulse. Hello.
Hello, good day, Ashraf. Great speaking to you.
Much appreciated. Right. What's your position regarding Dr. John Slope? Why do you have a problem with him?
Well, I think in the first place, it's not only something that has an impact on AfriForum members, but to all the listeners listening. If any one of us appears in a court, we would want the court to be independent. We want the court to be credible. And the way we're going to get that is to have judges of quality. So what we now have is somebody like Dr. Slope, who has himself been found unfit to serve as a judge due to dishonesty and gross misconduct. The Judicial Service Commission found him guilty, as you've mentioned. Then the National Assembly removed him as a member of Parliament, and now the unthinkable has happened. You would have Dr. Slope sitting on the Judicial Service Commission, And he'll be in a position to assess aspiring judges. He would have to look at their integrity and if they are suitable to serve as a judge. And he cannot be a judge in that regard if he is not fit to be a judge himself.
Okay, so your line of action then, in terms of the way you see it, you obviously oppose his position. What do you intend to do next?
Well, of course, we would have liked this not to happen, for the National Assembly to adhere to their constitutional responsibility in Article 165, which says that the National Assembly has to protect the courts, they have to assist the courts to ensure independence, dignity, effectiveness, and impartiality. We now know that Parliament did not do that. So the only route we now have is to go to the Constitutional Court and get the Constitutional Court to force the National Assembly to adhere to their constitutional obligation and to remove Judge Slope and then appoint somebody else that has not been shown not credible to be a judicial.
And do you think they have a constitutional obligation? I mean, I think it was the EFF who made the point to say once a person's been cleared to be an MP and therefore to serve in the National Assembly, why should then we oppose anyone? Because if that's the case, one can go across the board with so many people where there's slurs on their name, but they've been cleared anyway, so just leave it at that.
Yes, well, I think we need to look at the Constitution broadly. Of course, if somebody is a parliamentarian, then they have various powers that they can do. But if you look at the Constitution broadly, it says that the National Assembly must play a watchdog role and draw up the rules, which they did not, to prevent this kind of thing happening. But then secondly, if the National Assembly has an obligation in terms of the Constitution to make sure that they protect the courts, and if they don't do so, we can take them on, and that is something the Constitutional Court can do. No right is unlimited. If you are a member of Parliament, but your appointment will be irrational, then that should be opposed, and that is exactly what we are doing.
Okay. Give me some timelines in terms of what happens next then.
Well, within the next 10 days, we would want that Judge Slope, the Speaker of the National Assembly, as well as MK, as an opportunity to give us answering affidavits to show if they're going to oppose. But then, of course, also in this week, we're going to serve with regard to the Constitutional Court to get the matter there for their consideration. Of course, then it is in the hands of the Constitutional Court. They can either say no, we have to go back to the High Court. We cannot come to them directly, but our argument is they have exclusive jurisdiction on this matter. But also, secondly, there's urgency because the Judicial Service Commission sits again in October, and you're going to have interviews where Judge Slope or Dr. Slope will sit, amongst others, for the Judge President of the Western Cape. So he has been removed from the Western Cape, but now we'll have a decision on somebody which is negative about Judge Goliath. So that we need to prevent, and that's why this matter is urgent.
I see. Got that. Okay. We're going to follow that story. Absolutely. Kali Kriel, thanks for your time. The CEO of AfriForum. Does AfriForum have a point? To those that oppose Dr. John Klope's position regarding the Judicial Services Commission, is their point convincing to you that he was impeached and now he has to sit in on a committee that appoints new judges, the same grouping of judges that in fact impeached him in the first place, right? Okay, let's see. Here's another one. Ask the leader of the AfriForum, why do they have a problem with John Klope but not a problem with Pusisiwe Mkhwebane? Well, okay, couldn't ask him that, just not much time to do that. Maybe one more time for another comments that we've got about politics. Here we are.
Oh, politics. Afternoon, Mr. Ashraf. Now Action SA is about to vote with the ANC in the city of Johannesburg. Actually, I thank God that there's no political party that I'm belonging in. Yes, I do vote. I do vote, but I'm not a member of any political party. Yeah, cause this politics. It actually, I wish them all the best, but it's Qanqashibase, Kwaqwathaza, Xobo.
Ah, there we are. Thank you so much. Putting your town on the map. Absolutely. Ikopo, I think you said you was right. Well, here's the thing. Just think about this one here. That's why. No, let me leave this for later. I want to just add this comment about the parties we vote for or we support. Think about that. Let's get the news headlines now. Here's Mudupi Makhalamele.
Thank you, Ashraf Garda. In your headlines this hour, National Assembly Speaker Togo Didiza has called on cabinet ministers to improve the quality of answers to questions posed to them by members of parliament. Action SA leader Hemen Mashaba says the party cannot dictate to the ANC whether or not its regional chairperson Dada Morero should be put forward as a candidate for the City of Joburg mayorship. And a gunman has attacked a nursing home in the East Croatian capital Zagreb, killing at least 6 people and wounding several others. And those are your headlines. A full news update with Greg at 5.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 northbound in Woodmead has a crash reported before Buccleuch interchange. The N1 southbound in Eldorado Park has a crash near the N12 highway exit. Santon Drive westbound is slow moving, and that is towards Marie Avenue. In Midrand, the N1 northbound is queuing towards New Road, and the N1 southbound is slow moving towards Buccleuch interchange. And then Steve Biko Street northbound in Pretoria has delays towards Lavender Road. In KZN, the M7 westbound has a crash before Belleville Road exit at Queensborough. The N2 southbound is where a jackknife truck is reported after Umgeni Road. The road's been closed off, causing heavy delays. The N3 eastbound is queuing towards Ashburton, and Umgeni Road eastbound is slow moving through Springfield Park. In Cape Town, the M3 Philip Hassana Drive outbound has a crash reported before Hospital Bend. The N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound is queuing towards Hospital Bend. The M5 southbound is slow moving towards Racecourse Road exit. The N7 Jakes Hadwell Drive southbound has a crash at Beaufort Circle, and Main Road northbound in Cork Bay has a crash near Harbour entrance. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
Right, Chumi, I understand you want to talk about a former Bafana striker, coach, whatever, Sean Bartlett.
Former Cape Town Spurs coach Sean Bartlett says that he's rejected several advances from PSL clubs since his departure from Cape Town Spurs. The 51-year-old has been unattached since parting ways with the Urban Warriors after just 7 matches in October last year, a decision that Bartlett was quite vocal in terms of insisting that they showed a lack of support for local coaches by the club. But he also adds that he will not accept just any job offer out of desperation.
In the last 8 months, I've engaged with a numerous amount of clubs. Even a week or a couple of days after I left Spurs, I engaged with clubs. But I'm not that type of coach that's just going to work for the sake of earning a paycheck. Unfortunately, that's just my principles, or it's my integrity that I'm not going to compromise. And everybody, I've got a certain value as a person and as a coach, and I'm not going to undervalue that. Everybody wants promotion, but nobody wants to spend. So they want to pay you 50 Rand, but they want to make 50 million.
Well, still staying with PSL clubs, we've seen how teams have continued to launch their club jerseys for the new season. Cape Town City today unveiled their home and away kit on social media, while Orlando Pirates also unveiled their jersey. And they'll be joining us in studio from 5:30 just to tell us a bit more about their new jersey. Meanwhile, Kaizer Chiefs have confirmed that their new kits will be unveiled on Thursday. Amakosi will wear the new jersey at the Toyota Cup versus Yanga in Bloemfontein on Sunday. Elsewhere, Bournemouth owner Bill Foley says that he can't support any plan to play Premier League games outside England. Foley says that he was too respectful of the game and his fans to think that it was a good idea. Remember, in May, FIFA said that it was setting up a working group to assess the potential impact of competitive domestic matches being played overseas. Now, the Premier League has previously said that it had no plans to get involved, although Spain's La Liga is hopeful of staging games in the United States in the 2025-26 season. Then in athletics, Athletics South Africa President James Moloi has re-emphasized their stance around the decision to remove sprinter Luxolo Adams from the Olympic squad. Despite qualifying for the Games with an automatic entry last year, the 200-meter athlete was dropped due to his subsequent absence from competitions and thereby seen as failure to prove his fitness leading up to the Paris showpiece. Now, with the public uproar leading to Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture Gayton McKenzie offering support to the 27-year-old who has also sought legal recourse, Moloi insists that the call to replace Adams with Wade van Niekerk was very justifiable.
Yeah, but that one is a very simple case because we have explained loud and clear, and then we've put our reasons to say there was a. Well, I know that is already qualified. We understand everybody's qualified, but the problem is that we were told that it's not fit enough because we have checked the results, we have checked everything, and only to find out again at the same time, we wrote a letter to World Athletics and then to say, can we put extra person, but they refused. They said, no, can't. But on top of that, they even said only 3 best athletes are allowed to compete. So now there were five athletes have already qualified for 200 meters, but at the end of the day we have to select three of the best. So we've already selected 3 of the best, even if maybe he was going, but the thing is that he was not going to run because now he will be going to be a reserve. So Athletics South Africa took a decision to say we'll finalize our team and then we're not going to move anywhere because of the fitness story. That's all that we can say.
So 2 sides to the story, as we've heard Minister of Sports Gayton saying, listen, even if he doesn't compete at the Olympics, he must still go. And as you can hear, the president of Athletics South Africa saying that he was actually going to be a reserve. He was not necessarily going to compete at the Olympics. Okay. However, they saw it fitting to just rather not make him part of the team.
So where are we now with this now?
So now all we know is that he's taken legal recourse against Athletics South Africa. Athletics South Africa is not budging, but the last I heard from the sports minister, he did say that even if Athletics South Africa is not going to pay for him to go to the Olympics, he will find a way, even if it means that one of his staff members stays and doesn't go to the Olympics.
But I don't think it's about the money. If you're talking about paying or to compete.
Well, to compete, but...
So he can't, you say the minister... He can pay for anybody's flights if he wants to pay from his own pocket.
So the minister's argument is...
But he can't take a position. He can't.
He can't.
Minister,
yes, he can't meddle
from an executive point,
yeah.
He can't take a player out who just happens to be Wade van Niekerk, by the way.
Yeah. Right?
No,
Wade is in.
No, but in terms of that particular race, right?
In terms of the
they said
so
he was on
yes.
Yeah. So okay. So bottom line, minister said he'll pay for that, but he can't pay to put him into a team.
No. He even said, I mean, even if he doesn't compete, but it's all about saying you have qualified for the Olympics and we don't want to dampen your spirit by saying you're not going.
Honestly, if he doesn't compete and that can't be changed, and I'm not here to decide on that, I don't know enough about it.
Yeah.
And then say, I'll take you as a supporter, that's like a super fan, let's call it that,
yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you do that? That's even worse. When players don't compete when they should be there, that's not going to make him happier.
But James also said he was only going to be the reserve. He was not necessarily going to compete.
Oh, goodness. It's all very, very confusing.
Anyway, talking about the Olympics, we do know that obviously they're going to be showed on SABC. And I thought maybe I should just let in people on how much it costs to buy the rights to broadcast such a big tournament. SABC paid 122 million rand. And unlike the Rugby World Cup and the Cricket World Cup broadcast, the SABC has directly procured the rights to show the Olympics from the International Olympic Committee. So if you didn't know, now you know.
I like the business of sport. I think that just the entire business of sport is just a fascinating conversation in its own right, because based on what they pay, not just the SABC, I mean everybody around the world, then of course they sell on advertising rights, sponsorship for shows, which the plan is to make a profit. And I think inevitably when it comes to big events, the big sporting agencies or broadcasters actually do make a profit on an event-to-event basis. The business of sport is a Fascinating story.
Actually, the SABC did say that this amount has contributed, I think they said 58% to their financial loss in the previous financial year. However, they're very confident that they'll make all that money and profit from advertisements. So it'll be interesting to see.
More of the business of sport. I'm sure listeners enjoy that too. Very fascinating. Right, that's it for now.
Righty.
To me, we'll talk again in an hour's time.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Okay, let's get to the big issues around other sorts of money issues with Makwe Masilela, the Chief Investment Officer at Makwe Fund Managers. Makwe, good chatting to you. Let's talk about, local, global markets. But before that, Mr. Price's all-important numbers, right, in Q1.
Sure, well, indeed, afternoon to you and to the listeners. Ashraf, Mr. Price managed to gain market share for 11 months in a row. Sales up 5.6%. With Easter and school holidays moving into March, that impacted April sales, and higher average temperature in April and May resulted in delayed consumer spend when it comes to winter stuff. And the cash sales are making up almost 87.5% of their total sales, which is a good thing. And those cash sales grew by 5.2%, while credit sales increased by a mere 0.3%. And the guys increased their footprint, opening 35 new stores. Now the guys have 2,935 stores. And when it comes to the markets, we've seen that the Joe Biden's weekend withdrawal from the White House race can hardly be seen as a big surprise, but it adds some doubts to market bets that Donald Trump is a show-in when it comes to November's election. And some of the so-called Trump trades were pared back marginally. That is, the likes of your long-term bond yields and the dollar declined a bit. An interest rate cut from China to stimulate their struggling economy was a nice surprise to the markets. And after suffering a broad sell-off last week, markets are starting a new week on a positive note. But oil price is doing the opposite. That is continuing the previous week's sell-off. And that's because of concerns about economic health of top oil importer, which is China, after that surprise rate cut. And we see Brent crude is down 0.6% at $82 a barrel. And the yellow metal caught up between a weaker dollar, which was responding to Biden's decision to withdraw from the presidential race, and also expectations for further clues on the timing of rate cuts, which we'll probably get from the Friday's U.S. personal consumption expenditure data. As we are talking, the yellow metal gold is flat. Now it's trading at 2,394, but platinum is down 2% at 944. DAX, just like CAC, up 1.2%, FTSE up 0.6%, the Dow is up 0.1%, S&P is up 0.8%, with the JC up 0.6%, and our industrials are doing most of the heavy lifting, up 1.4%, financials up 0.5%, but the resources are down 0.7%, and the rand is flat against the dollar, the pound, and the euro, trading 18.28 to the US dollar, 23.61 to the pound, and 19.88 to the euro.
Okay, great. We will chat tomorrow. Thanks for that, Makwe. As always, we'll have more business coming up in an hour's time. Let's get to some calls in the meantime. Butana in Rosebank, hello.
How are you?
I'm good indeed. Good talking to you.
You know this partial withdrawal agreement between COSATU and the government is not going to help the employees. The level of indebtedness is out of control of those employees. Not going to help them. Actually, it's going to make the situation worse. When they have to retire now and go enjoy their money, they'll have insufficient money.
So what then would help them then? If that doesn't help them, what will help them?
They must deal with the problem of indebtedness. Why these people they're indebted? And it looks like they want to cut corners because these people resign and get their money. That is the tap that they need to close. And the lie that the COSATU is telling us that it is because of COVID, public sector people never affected financially by COVID. They were paid full money, even if they were not working. People that were affected is in private sector. And those people, when they resign, they not go back to top. It's finished and flat. This is a useless decision that they've made. It's not going to help those people.
Okay, got that. Thank you. Thanks. Well, you raise, again, I think there's a bigger issue. There's an issue of affordability to live your life every single day, not just for workers that you refer to in terms of the pension. across the board. And we can always talk about that. How is it that so many people in the country struggle to make ends meet every single day? And then when we struggle, and I say we, how then do we access any money to be able to survive? And then when you access any money, if you are able to, in fact, you are effectively mortgaging your future, because it's a point I've made as well. So what happens 5 years down the line when you can't work? Where then do you get money then? That's why the world is so, I'm not going to say corrupt. That's why the world is so complex. And we then have to rethink the global economic system. But that won't sort out the problem today. That's my point, Butana. Chumani in Cape Town as well. Hello.
Hello, how are you, Ashraf?
I'm good, man. Right, go ahead. What's your point?
My point is in line with the previous speaker. For me, I think this two-pot system. It's a complex system, like you just indicated. That this system, for me, I don't think it's in the interest of the employees and the trade unions in particular. I don't know how they bought into this, but I can tell you now, if you say a person should access, let's say, 30,000, what will they do with 30,000? A person is struggling to pay, let's say, a bond. What will a 30,000 do in a 12-month period? So for me, the people who are going to benefit mainly from this is those financial management institutions, because if you take that 30,000, you still have to pay administration fee, you still have to pay the tax. So in the end, you are left with close to nothing. So I don't think this was thought through by those that are concerned.
Okay, got that. So I'll tell you what, I think we need another take on this from another pension expert, besides what Kosatu says.
Because even the guy who was explaining the withdrawal terms and so on, the way he explained, he did not he explained it as if the following year then you get more than 30,000. But it's not like that. It means you only access 30,000 to the maximum of 30,000, irrespective of how much you have.
No, I believe it said that after that,
year,
after the next year, you can actually take 1/3 of whatever is available. So I got that. Chamani, thanks for that call. Let's get further comments. So here's one from Manda saying, Ashraf, broadcasting the Olympic Games, the same SABC that could not broadcast TS Galaxy versus Mbabane Swallows over the weekend when you have all the rights. Well, let me put it this way to you, Manda. I don't know what the complexities of sporting rights regarding the SABC is concerned, so I can't really comment on that. Accepting this is the part I can give you a general view, right? What we don't know is, and when I say this, I'm sure of this part, that whether it's the SABC, whether it's SuperSport, or whichever other global broadcaster regarding the Olympic Games, whatever they pay for to secure their rights, they then in advance pre-book sponsorship of shows as well as advertising spots in that period. And because the Olympic Games, 2 weeks, right? Like the World Cup of football is a month. Rugby is, I think, 5 or 6 weeks. And cricket maybe also 6 weeks. They block book around those periods, which means they sell off to earn a profit. So that means whatever they pay, they must get the returns on the investment. Otherwise, they would lose out completely. Right, further thoughts, if anybody else knows more about just the business of sport in terms of understanding these rights, let me know. Very few people really giving another opinion about the fact that the Joburg Mayor may not be the Joburg Mayor any longer. Surely you have an opinion on that, whether you live in Joburg or whether you live anywhere in the country. And we're talking about one of the most significant, certainly economically the most significant city in the country. It has an impact on all of us, right? Here's another.
Afternoon, Ashraf. This is Muzugisi here in Hebron. My brother, that bill that was signed by President Ramaphosa is a slap to us, because all these years we were working. I could check my balance of my money I have in my bargaining council provident fund, and I wanted to start a business with that money. I needed a lump sum when let's say I resign or I'm retrenched. At least that money could help me finish my house. I can start my own business. So now we are now forced to continue working. Well, at least we are old enough to go and start something else. Thank you very much.
Okay, you see, that's another issue in terms of the realities, and that's not a COSATU issue. It's a global issue in terms of people don't earn enough money to survive when they're working, and they don't have enough money to survive when they're not working and there's no income. It is such a complex issue. That's why inequality has been discussed by many others, is the biggest threat to the issues about stability in countries. It is, and it's pronounced in the world. There's no question about it. It's very, very pronounced. Let's get to further calls on some of the issues that we want to pick up on. In fact, we'll talk to some of the others just after this.
The Rockets are assigned to question the German way of the beautiful game in a South African style. They want to start the new season with a coveted trophy, but FC Augsburg want to conclude their tour to Mzansi with a great result leading to the new German Bundesliga season. Mpumalanga province will vibrate when TS Galaxy and FC Augsburg lock horns. This is the Mpumalanga Premiers International Cup 2024. Catch the spectacular contest between TS Galaxy FC and FC Augsburg on Saturday, 27 July at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Tickets are available at CompuTickets. Proudly brought to you by the TS Galaxy Foundation and SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Yeah, we can do this. It's been a long time coming. This deserves to grow. It's a great business. If they don't like it, someone else will. And fund me so I can expand. Maybe I can offer them shares. I need to retain equity for staff. It's going to be good for recruitment. Yeah.
Possible begins with that one great idea. When Telkom enables entrepreneurs to make their ingenuity a reality, we grow local economies. Telkom. Possible begins here.
Shopping sprees. Catching flights while others catch feelings. Shaking that thing while sipping on some bubbles on a yacht in Dubai. Some call it living soft. You know, Ndofo Ndof. Tune into Sugar Baby Dating, a highly revealing documentary that lifts the lid of the sugar baby dating phenomenon and talks to girls who have a string of rich older men funding their lifestyles and the women that feel damaged by the whole experience. This Thursday at 10 p.m. Is it just a little frivolous fun, or is there a sinister side to sugar baby dating? Channel your inner curiosity with Sugar Baby Dating, 11 July at 10 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
S3. Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
I have to tell you, you know that we like four people that make up the show, myself and then my three producers, Rusani, who deals with the social media aspect, and then we have Keys and Temba, and we love your feedback. So what sort of feedback can you give us in terms of how we manage the show every single day? Love your comments, and you can text us, you can WhatsApp, text or voice note, but also you can post on social media. We like your feedback. It's really important to us that we get it right every single day, and we certainly want to do that. By the way, Orlando Pirates, there's a football kit reveal. We'll talk to them after 6 o'clock. So all these Bucks supporters, Buccaneers, you know exactly what you need to be doing, okay? Now, one of the things in terms of the changes that we've made to the show as we move outside of election season is ensuring we have some daily features that we will have. And one of them once a week is a focus on artificial intelligence big time. So my guest today is the co-founder of You Grow, and that's Kele Buakomo. Kele, good chatting to you on the National Pulse. Hello.
Hi, Ashraf. Thank you for having me on your show today. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Well, we believe there's a huge emphasis we have to play on entrepreneurship on the one hand, as well as artificial intelligence. In fact, many ways you do both, right? So perhaps tell me about your company and what's coming together of significant women in that space.
Sure. So YouGrow is a behavioral tech platform designed specifically for women. What we do is that we promote professional and personal growth through personalized microactions, robust network, and intelligent coaching provided by seasoned former female executives who sit across the globe. But how we leverage AI is that we tailor the development experience for each unique individual, knowing that our needs are different. And we provide continuous support, and we deliver personalized journeys for the women on YouGrow. And our algorithms analyze the data from our coaching sessions, and we identify patterns and tailor programs to identify the areas of growth, enabling women to excel in leadership.
Okay, and tell me more about, just I think it's a given now that artificial intelligence is important, but maybe you can answer this, like how important? How important is it to even listeners tuned in right now, wherever they may be in the world, who are like switched off AI? Why is it that important to them too?
I think AI really provides an opportunity to accelerate abilities across many different spectrums in terms of the way we work and the way we do business. And it's really an opportunity for us to really leverage this technology to enhance our human potential. And that's really what AI presents as an opportunity for everybody to really embrace and think about how do they involve it in everything that they do.
Okay, I understand. In terms of your organization, the next step for YouGrow is to grow into Asia, which potentially is probably the biggest market of them all, right? How would you then tackle Asia? Because I'm just thinking, as you do that, all these different territories would have vested interest in, I don't know, perhaps sort of safeguarding their territories. How do you break into that?
I think the thing that we're doing, Ashraf, is that we are solving a human problem that exists in every single geography that has a resonance around how do we support women to drive thriving careers. And so we're quite really humbled by being in other geographies, being Brazil, Egypt, Kazakhstan, Turkey, and Poland, as well as the UK and South Africa. So what we've found is that what we are addressing is a universal need, which is women wanting to grow, live, and prosper. And our technology really allows them to do so. How we expand into these markets is really with our clients being able to really land and expand and operate where they are, having them seeing the advantages that we've brought to their organizations.
So what sort of problem are you solving?
We're really solving a global problem around how do we achieve economic gender parity. The World Economic Forum talks about it's going to take 268 years to close the economic gender divide. That's around having women operating in entrepreneurship as well as women thriving in corporate. And so we're really looking at how can we leverage our technology to contribute towards closing this economic gender divide using technology.
Let's take yourself. How did you enter into this market? What was because you probably were doing something else before artificial intelligence, and then connecting this new technology to entrepreneurship. What were you doing before, and what was the aha moment for you?
Right. So, the vision of YouGrow dates back to 2017. It was inspired by my experience working in a global corporate and the lived experience that I had as a woman with the challenges around navigating the corporate landscape. So both Yolanda and I, Yolanda as my co-founder, officially started YouGrow in 2020. And it was really driven by a passion for technology and seeing women and women development. It really, I think YouGrow allows us to operate at the intersection of our purpose and impact. And it's really around how, having recognized the structural obstacles women face, and we would really wanted to contribute to say, how do we help drive performance and help women thrive in the workplace and reduce some of these barriers.
And thank God that you've done that. Appreciate it. Give us some, so YouGrow, 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 right? Any other ways we can reach you if people are interested in connecting with YouGrow?
Yes, sure. YouGrow, you can find us. We are on LinkedIn, and you can get us as well as on www.yougrow.co. And we are available on those two platforms.
Okay, and may I suggest that you tweet out, if you can, all the details as well on Twitter as well as on Facebook. Just tag SFM Radio and do tag myself too, as well as on LinkedIn. I certainly will follow you across the board and see what you're doing. So there you are. That's an important connection. Kelly, I much appreciate your time. So here you are. I think it's important. Besides AI, it's the need to expand in entrepreneurship on the one hand, using AI, but also around the issues of gender parity, which I think is so critical, right? But the bottom line to all this, even from a South African perspective, we just love dealing with people who are punching, not even above their weight, they're punching into spaces that says, hey, we've arrived, we can deliver, we can solve problems, and we just happen to be from South Africa or Africa, but we can sort out anything that you want. And that for me is so inspirational. It's a type of raising of the pulse rate that is just the type of pulse rate rising for the right reasons, if you get my point. Khotso, let's get your thoughts in Poch. Hi, Khotso.
Hi, Ashraf, how are you?
I'm good indeed, man. Right, go ahead. What's your point?
Okay, my point is this thing of pension funds of people, it's just the same as government is the one that is going to be saving on taxes, because these taxes all are going back to the government. So they plan this so that everyone, when you take your money, because they know that we don't have a choice because we are suffering. they know that they're going to benefit from the money that is going to be taxed from the very same amount, which is the small amount that is going to get as well. And if you revert back, in time of Tito Mboweni, this was said they are not going to tax the money that they are going to give to people. So immediately Ramaphosa chased Tito Mboweni out of the government. He came with a new system now, and it's very sad to us people who are working on salaries of hand to mouth, because some of us were benefiting from those provident funds. We were like maybe working when they chase you away from the company, as normally some of us are working for private sectors. We were taking that monies, build houses, buy something that you need, that is very much needed at that point in time. So now, by so doing, it means they now killing us for I don't know how can I put it.
Okay, I'd love to engage you further. I can't. I hear you ending with they killing us. Khotso can't talk now. Maybe send us another voice note. We're on to news time. That's why I can't continue. That's really the reason. But clearly there are big issues around understanding how pension funds work and then linking it now to this two-pot legal system. Let's get the news now. Just gone 5 o'clock with Greg House.
Thank you, Ashraf, and good afternoon to you. A call for better answers from ministers and gunmen kills 6 people in Croatia shooting. Good day to you. Speaker of the National Assembly, Toka Dadis, has called on cabinet ministers to improve the quality of their answers to questions posed to them by MPs. She said this during the tabling of the 2024-25 budget of Parliament. She says an effective working relationship between the two branches of government is crucial.
It would also be critical to ensure that engagement with the executive is improved and that the quality of responses to questions posed to the executive are able to assist members to undertake their oversight responsibility. In the previous administration, we've also acknowledged that where ministers are not able to attend portfolio committees or even answering questions in this House, deputy ministers will be available to undertake this work. I will urge members of the executive, through you, our leader of government, that this practice must continue so that there can be this dynamic relationship between the executive and the legislature.
The Action SA leader, Herman Mashaba, says the party cannot dictate to the ANC whether or not its regional chairperson, Data Morero, should be put forward as a candidate for the Johannesburg mayorship. Morero is expected to replace Kabela Gwamanda as mayor, while Action SA is expected to assume the speaker position in council. Mashaba says the next Joburg mayor should be able to serve its residents well.
Obviously, we've not really discussed with the ANC who they must put in as the mayor. The only thing we said, the current mayor that we don't want. We've got it proof that I think our caucus leaders already indicated to you this person, this job is way beyond his capacity. So we are not going to dictate to the ANC who they must put forward. The only thing we said to the ANC, please give us someone who can save the residents of the city of Johannesburg.
City Power's disconnected power at the Johannesburg Society for the Blind due to an unpaid electricity bill amounting to 10 million rand. It says the organisation last made a payment in 2022. City Power spokesperson Isaac Mangena.
Despite numerous engagements we've held with the management, imploring them to consider various payment options and also the consequences of not paying, the organization still continued on defaulting. City Power gave the organization more than enough time to try and raise funds if they needed to in order to settle their account.
The 3 men accused of murdering German tourist Jörg Schnaar in 2022 have pleaded not guilty to all the charges at the Mpumalanga High Court in Mbombela. State witness Dennis Malumane told the court that on the day in question he was standing with a friend next to the road when they saw a black minibus taxi being followed by a car which then blocked the minibus at a speed hump on the Numbi Road towards the Kruger National Park's Numbi Gate. Malumani stated that one person got out of the vehicle holding a gun in his hand and opened fire in the direction of Schnaar, who was the driver of the minibus. A gunman has attacked a nursing home in the East Croatian capital Zagreb, killing at least 6 people. Several other people were wounded. The gunman then fled the scene but was later arrested by police. Local media say his mother was a resident at the home. The top story, the Speaker of the National Assembly has called on cabinet ministers to improve the quality of answers to questions posed to them by MPs. That says AFM News. I'm Greg Ghost.
In your sports this hour, Sundowns appoint former Amazulu coach Roman Falls as assistant coach, and France welcomes Israel athletes at Olympics. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N3 southbound in Alexandra has a crash after Marlborough Drive. The N3 northbound in Bedfordview has a crash after Van Buren Road. The N1 southbound in Eldorado Park has a crash near the N12 Potchefstroom Highway exit. The M1 southbound is slow moving through Crown Interchange towards Boysons Road's exit, and Heidelberg Road southbound in City Deep is queuing towards Pitt Street. In KZN, the N3 westbound queuing towards Spaghetti Junction. The M7 westbound has a crash before Belleville Road exit at Queensborough. The N3 eastbound in Camperdown has a crash before Umlaas Road, and Umgeni Road is slow moving through Springfield Park. In Cape Town, the M3 Philip Hosanna Drive outbound is queuing towards Hospital Bend. The N1 outbound has flooding reported before the N7 Highway Bridge. The left lane is closed. Retreat Road eastbound is queuing towards Prince George Drive, and Campground Road is slow moving near the Cricket Stadium. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 104.3 FM in Rustenburg.
Attention ladies, join us on Saturday, August 17th, 2024 for the Star Choices Yours Women's Day event at Altitude Fourways, a day dedicated to empowerment, inspiration and transformation. Engage with dynamic speakers, attend interactive conversations and connect with amazing women just like you. The event will be hosted by the fabulous Unatingai. Don't miss out on this opportunity to celebrate and elevate yourself. Get your tickets now at www.quicket.co.za for 550 Rand, drinks, food and a gift bag included. Plus, stand a chance to win an honor product. This incredible event is powered by independent media and the Honor 200 series.
Every year, 30,000 missionaries are called to serve the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints across the globe, the largest full-time missionary force of any church. Most are under 25 and away from home for up to 2 years, and the biggest training center in Europe is located in Chorley, Lancashire. The Mormons Are Coming follows the journey of 3 young missionaries through the first few months of training and work in the field, which can make or break them. Tune into The Mormons Are Coming, Thursdays at 10 p.m. Channel your best dockies with BBC Primetime, only on S3. Open up.
So July is Film Month, and we've been talking about it all month, right? The KwaZulu-Natal Tourism and Film Authority welcomes filmmakers from all over the world who are attending the exciting festivities lined up. So, part of it, the Durban International Film Festival, the Durban Film Mart, and the ICP2 program, and the Simon Sabella KZN Film and Television Awards. In fact, that one's done. Yeah, that one's done already over the weekend. So certainly KZN Film's looking forward to hosting people, not just over the last few days, but certainly going forward to the end of the month, doing tourism and film business, connecting all of that to what is called the beautiful province. So you can join the conversation, and here are the hashtags to follow. One is SSA24. The second one is Beyond Imagination, and the third hashtag is KZN Has It All.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
If you're a football supporter, you'll be interested. If you're a supporter of Orlando Pirates, you'll definitely be interested. There's a big football kit reveal coming up, and we'll talk about it on the show just after the new sports bulletin around 5:30. Do not miss that. Right now, early on we chatted to Michael Beaumont from Action SA. So here's the thing, right? Action SA effectively are, well, put it simply, going to do business with the ANC. Remember the ANC? That party, they said they will do nothing to do with them. Why? Because the positions and priorities have changed. They see a bigger priority in changing things regarding the city of Johannesburg in particular. They believe the mayor who's been there, the Al Jamal mayor, and that's been put together because of a collaboration between the ANC as well as the EFF, amongst others, right? We've put him into place, and they say, well, there's just so many problems that's gone wrong, so we will change tact, and in fact, we won't be part of a coalition, and not a GNU, but we will side, or rather collaborate with the ANC on an issue-to-issue basis, and one of them would be getting rid of that $200 that many people have complained about in terms of the maintenance fee we have to pay for prepaid, and the more significant one, I think, first things first, in terms of getting rid of the mayor. So let's get further thoughts on that with Tessa Dooms, who's a political analyst but also director of programs at the Rivonia Circle. Tessa, good chatting to you, and thanks for joining us on the National Pulse.
Thank you for having me, Ashraf.
Thank you. So, I mean, it's a two-part conversation with you. One would be like the political analyst hat or cap, but the other is, I mean, interestingly enough, I do know that as part of the Rivonia Circle, you're part of this grouping that has a protest next week that, as part of the protest, also wants the mayor out, the mayor of Joburg. So you'd agree with the Action SA's position then, right?
Well, we agree that the leadership in the city of Joburg is not stepping up to the challenge of fixing the service delivery crisis in the country or in the city, and that you need stronger leadership and leadership that is going to deliver and be accountable. The question about whether this change of mayor is the bottom of the problem, I think we agree is we are part of a collaborative called the Joburg Crisis Alliance. And as the Crisis Alliance, we agree that the question is bigger than Mayor Kwamanda. The question is about whether or not the city of Joburg, as a council and as a MACO as well, are willing to take on and address the electricity crisis. That includes the tariff. It includes the load reduction that has been happening across the city. It includes areas like Kliptown that have never had electricity and still have that problem. And, of course, the water issues are also major issues right now with water shedding across the city. And so we believe that whatever administration there is, whether it's Kwamanda or any other administration, the problem has been there's been a lack of urgency, a lack of a turnaround strategy for the city, and a lack of accountability, and that's the thing that we are trying to address. It is much bigger.
Yeah, I think it's an important point because, I mean, the Al Jamaa party has had, two different mayors, let's say, that running in the last year and a half, and where there's one maybe critical of some aspects of their leadership, I think it's rather foolhardy to think that all the blame is on them, considering that they've also been propped up by major political parties, right? Which brings me into the next question, like, how did the city of Joburg get into this position?
Well, the city of Joburg is in this position because we've had poor management of coalitions. We've had coalitions that have been based on political power, political jostling, and a search for positions rather than a program of action. We've also had the problem where councillors, and particularly ward councillors in this case, have not actually been accountable to the communities that they serve. Many of the ward councillors in the city of Joburg don't even feel like they need to live in the communities that they serve. And so you have councillors that are completely disconnected from the issues in their communities, who are not acting as champions of their communities, but only champions of their political parties for the purposes of political gain. And that's the crisis of the city, is that we have coalitions that have just leaned fully into political brinkmanship and political positions over the work that needs to get done and being accountable to the residents rather than political party interests and bosses.
So therefore, what needs to change? I mean, Action SA believes priority one that needs to change would be first things first, get rid of the mayor. What do you think? What needs to change?
Well, it's getting rid of the mayor is one step in many. I think that the issue is a little bit bigger than that, but I'll return to that question. I think that there needs to be a commitment to much stronger leadership in the city. I have a personal view that you have to have your best people in the country leading at the most local levels. So when we choose people to lead in the MACOs, when we choose people, we need to choose people not only who are strong and competent politically, but also have a clear sense of what the plans are that need to be executed in the city, are able to hire people into the city that actually have the competencies that are needed and not just political lackeys. But are also disconnected to accountability. And our accountable people are not criminals and are not feeding into the criminal syndicates that are operating across the city. I mean, if you think about the housing sector, if you think about the many issues that are happening in the housing sector, many of those are underpinned by corrupt and criminal dealings that are enabled by the politicians. And so we don't just need competent people, we also need people who are accountable and not corrupt. So I think that's the first standard for leadership. And I think that one of the calls to action that we have for Saturday is that across the city we need councillors from that council to start going back and being embedded in their communities, doing citizen hearings with their communities, where they actually start fighting for the residents of Joburg rather than fighting for their political parties.
So again, Action SA's roadmap would be, step one, getting rid of the mayor, right? Yourself specifically, you've often spoken about the power of the people, and I certainly I'm partisan to that position, right? Yet we all know that at this point in time, the problems you talk about is certainly not because of the people, but certainly the management councils that you refer to, right? So then what then would your roadmap be? I'm talking of something very practical besides protest that needs to happen and needs to happen very, very quickly.
Well, the first thing is that we need the 230 rand tariff scrapped, and a review of that entire process. Already now you're seeing people unable to pay that 230 tariff, that are unable to access electricity as we speak. That tariff is unpalatable, and it has not gone through a proper public participation process. So many residents in Johannesburg are finding about that tariff as they need to pay it. So that's the first thing that does need to happen. The second thing is that we do need a turnaround strategy on water, electricity, housing, and safety. And we need a committed plan that is a 3-month, 6-month, and 12-month plan. And those need to be hit with immediate targets that the new council or whoever comes in, whether they keep this council, MACO or not, need to then set up targets for addressing those. The third is what I was talking about now, about citizen hearings within the wards. Ward by ward, we need councillors to go back and get a mandate from their communities about which are the crisis issues in each of their communities and what are they going to take into this council in order to resolve in the shortest space of time. You need a mandate from people and from communities about what the priority issues are. But we have in our census check with ratepayers associations, with community-based organizations. I was in a meeting on Friday with about 15 activists from different communities. It is very clear that the watershedding issue needs to be resolved absolutely critically, that the load reduction needs to end and needs to be dealt with, and that we also need to be clear that this 230 is being spoken about as a way to get money into the fiscus to deal with the electricity issue. But because of corruption, we have no guarantee that even if that money was collected, it would actually go towards the maintenance plans that need to fix the electricity crisis.
Now, earlier on, you spoke about too many political leaders being champions of their parties and not champions of their city or their constituencies, right? That suggests to me that has to change first, meaning that I'll go back to the original point of Action SA, not just about what they want, right? But does it require then a management change of the city of Joburg, which then would require shifts in terms of the current party arrangement?
100%. And we need to do an audit of management in the city of Joburg on an urgent basis. So I spoke about the housing crisis. Last year when we had the Joburg fire, we realized that the Johannesburg Housing Agency has been in a shambles for the longest time. Yet the manager of that agency has no accountability to anybody. Nobody talks about Helen Waters. Nobody can give us a scorecard on how she is performing, yet she sits pretty in her job. I think that needs to apply across the city, not only in terms of the city management within the city, but also the city agencies, the agencies that are meant to be delivering. We've seen the e-tolls. We just need a complete audit of management in the city, because something is horribly wrong, and it's more than just the political leadership. It is really a crisis of management that is much deeper.
Okay. Now, I know we're talking about being expedient as opposed to being, ideological or philosophical about this. Does expediency suggest that the current position of Joburg leadership has to change, meaning that a party with what I think maybe 2 or 3 seats at most, Al Jama, has positioned themselves, because of the support of the ANC and the EFF, I understand, to effectively lead the city? That must change in favour of what the Action SA is proposing. They've got, I think, about 40 seats, so more of an Action SA ANC alliance that will give them the seats they want, and that will then see a change in leadership of the city. Would you support that?
You see, I think the focus at Al Jabbar is an incorrect focus. This has been a coalition MACO. That MACO has got more than 3 or 4 parties in it. Everybody must take responsibility. Those portfolios are not being led by Al Jabbar. And so whatever leadership that they put in place, the question isn't about which party has the majority of voices and votes. It's about whether these parties and politicians can, number one, find the most competent among them. And so for my part, whichever coalition comes together, if the most competent person is from a minority party, is an independent candidate for running the transport department, that's the person that should be appointed. Mm-hmm. The idea that we're appointing from a party political point of view, Action SA is one of the parties that bemoans things like cadre deployment. So it should practice that. It should look for the most competent councillor, not look for a councillor that is beholden to it. And I think that's been the problem with our coalition politics in general, is they're looking for party lackeys rather than competent councillors.
Well, I think it's an important point of clarity, and I think you're right on that one, that Al Jama's there because other parties have enabled them to be in a position of leadership, but it's certainly not them acting on their own. That means the ANCs and the EFFs we refer to have been in those positions of influence for a good number of years, and we know that, and the DA as well before that, right? What then for you, maybe just lastly, would be the right type of fix to come to a city multi-party agreement and then to appoint the right people in place?
Well, I do think the multi-party agreement needs to be one that is as firm as possible, but based on measurable and objective criteria in terms of a measurable plan of action. And that's why I spoke about the turnaround plan that I think is necessary. The reason why I also think that turnaround plan is absolutely necessary, that we have right now, we've had these councillors for over 2 years. We have no faith in this council as a whole. If you ask me what I would want to dissolve this council and start over, because we really have no faith in this council. And for me, that means that the province needs to have a much more active role in trying to help manage the city, even if it means that its oversight goes to the point of considering administration if it does not reach particular targets in a short amount of time. I think that the national leadership, President Ramaphosa spoke in his speech on Thursday about municipalities and making sure that they are functional. At this rate, Section 139 could be enacted by the national if the city continues to go on a downward trajectory. So there needs to be an oversight capacity that also steps in here. The oversight from province in terms of its ability to put the city under administration needs to be emphasized, and even the ability of national to dissolve a council that is not functional and has a financial deficit. And the ANC is actually being involved in this because they've held the purse strings of the city. Dada Moreira is the treasurer. He is the finance MMC. And so he, too, has not been a good steward of the finances of the city. If we're going to turn this around, we need strong leadership, not in the city, but also oversight from province and from national, so that if Joburg does not deliver in the next 6 months and people's lives get worse and the outcomes for service delivery are worse, we cannot wait until 2026. We need action now, and if that means dissolving this council and starting again, then that's what needs to happen.
Okay, and lots of thoughts and questions you left with your answers, so much appreciate you giving of your time. Tessa Dooms, Director of Programs at Rivonia Circle, and the campaign, and there's posters to that effect, says, "End the Joburg crisis, we need a change, join the protest," and then refers to a whole lot of things. Of course, one of them, it says, Mayor Gwamanda must go. But I think Tessa Dooms' point is not just about the mayor. We, to quote her, we have no faith in the council. The question is, if we have no faith in the council, then what would be the shape of the council that replaces this council. And whatever happens, it has to link up back to the city of Joburg being the prize city that it should be as a reflection of the rest of South Africa. Well, it is the national pulse after all.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Okay, so I'll tell you what, if you have any thoughts on that issue, feel free to comment on that. And it's, so many of these issues we touch on every single day. They are complex, I know that. And therefore, we talk about it in ways that we try and find some answers to that one. But if you have any opinions and certainly answers, solutions to that story, certainly feel free to tell me. WhatsApp 0614104107 or to call in 086 0002032. Third way, you can just post on the social media platforms using the hashtag #TheNationalPulse. Now, talk about drama. How's this for drama? The Mayerton police are trying to solve a strange case. 2 suspects escaped from custody, and the story is they turned themselves into cats, and I'm not joking, okay? According to a police report seen by the IOL, the 2 suspects, and their names are Ali and Mustafa. This sounds like a comedy show, but it's not, okay? They made strange owl-like noises, turned into cats, right? And walked out of the holding cells. For more details on this, let's speak to Cian Raul, senior digital journalist for Independent Online. I appreciate you giving off your time. This sounds like a Ripley's Believe It or Not story.
Absolutely. It's Mzansi for sure, as my dad used to say.
Okay, so what is the story? I mean, so how much of it is opinion and how much is fact? I mean, so the fact is they've escaped from custody. We know that, right?
The fact is that they've escaped. How much is opinion? I don't know, because this is an actual OB entry that was sent to the police commissioner. So they are actually investigating. There's an OB entry date and everything. They are actually investigating this.
And in terms of that investigation, so understanding that, they may have made sort of cat noises. Okay, that I can believe. But then it says turn themselves into cats. Did they say owl noises? Okay.
It was owl noises that they turned themselves into cats and they disappeared from the cells.
Owl-like noises and they turned into...
Yes.
But does it say the noises turned into cat noises or physically cats? I mean, it's bizarre even me asking you this question. That's why I'm trying to get to the bottom of it.
Absolutely. But that is what one of the suspects said, and he went on record saying this to the police that the two suspects made strange owl-like noises. They turned into cats and they slinked off through the cells.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so what happens next here? I mean, who's on the chase? Where do they go? Do they go to the zoo? I'm just asking,
I have no idea. So as far as I know, one of the brothers, they are brothers actually,
Okay.
and one of them has been rearrested. So Omari has been rearrested. And in the article, it states that, yes, police are actually investigating. I spoke to Colonel Noxolo Kweza, who's the Gauteng police spokesperson, and she confirmed, yes, that the probe is underway and the police officers who were on duty at the time, they are also being investigated. I know IPID is investigating as well.
Okay, so the names, we've got Omari Mustafa and the other one is Mustafa Ali, and you're
Ali,
saying they're
yes,
brothers,
yes.
right? Why
That's
were
what
they
they
held
say.
in custody in the first place? I mean, what happened to them?
They were part of a group of about 11 suspects that were arrested for being in possession of a truck that had stolen items. So they were arrested around July 16th, taken to the holding cells. Obviously, the processing would need to happen. And then this is when these 2 men allegedly turned into cats and walked out of the holding cells.
And then the guy who got arrested, what happened to his cat spell? I mean, clearly that ended. I'm trying to understand where
I
I
would
go
definitely
next.
think so.
Yeah.
Sometimes you write these stories, and the more you write, the more you ask yourself, am I really writing this? And then police actually confirm that an investigation is underway. So I suppose somewhere along the line, someone believes this.
Okay, let's get serious. I mean, in terms of you saying some officers are being investigated, which actually means
Yes.
then somebody opened the gate, so to speak, right?
Yes. Well, so far that's what the allegations are, that these 2 guys were obviously assisted. And so that's why Mayton police have opened a disciplinary case against the members. And there's also a case of lawful escape from lawful custody that's under investigation.
Okay, tell you what, tweet to if you can just share the story with us, just tweet it
Sure.
to SFM Radio as well as myself, Ashraf Garda, and then we'll share it like a Ripley's Believe It or Not story, and we'll take it from there. Okay. We'll see what
Thank
happens.
you. Sure.
Cian Raul, thank you for your time. Senior digital
You too.
journalist for Independent Online. Well, you see, there you are. The cats do have 9 lives. I don't know how many they've used up on that particular issue. Can you trade in the lives for opportunities to get out of jail? It's a bizarre story. I make of it what you will. Well, in fact, tell me what you think about it. Like, are you listening to the conversation? What's going through your mind about these owl-like noises the two brothers made? And they, according to, this is the report, this is the docket, they've turned themselves into cats. 0614 104 107. WhatsApp. You tell me what you think. Further comments on some of the other issues we've had, and we've had a range of stories. There's one on the Olympic Games, right?
The Olympic Games is not in 2 weeks' time, which the announcers just said. The Olympic Games starts on Friday. So, yeah, it's right around the corner. Thanks.
Yeah, maybe you just said wrong by her, maybe by me. I don't know. But I certainly said it. I know it starts on Friday, then I know. But it is for 2 weeks. And I certainly made that point. It's a 2-week event, right? And a lot of attention and focus is on that, but within the event, it's multi-sport, which is very different to other sporting events, which is a singular solo sport, which means a very different audience. So you get people listening to swimming now or watching swimming who may not watch wrestling. And I tell you what, I love wrestling in the Olympic Games, and I don't watch wrestling at any other time but during the Olympic Games. 5:30 is the news headlines with Greg House.
Quick look at the headlines. The AA says motorists can expect another petrol price cut of around 7 cents a litre next month. 2 suspects, including a foreign national, have appeared in court in the Sekwa region in the Western Cape on charges of dealing in drugs. And the Speaker of the National Assembly has called on cabinet ministers to improve the quality of their answers to questions posed to them by MPs. A full update at 6 o'clock.
This traffic report is driven by performance. Be prepared to perform with Bridgestone.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N3 northbound in Bedfordview has a crash after Van Buren Road, queuing traffic in both ways. The R21 southbound in Kempton Park has a crash before Pomona Road exit. Allendale Road in Klerkop has delays near Mastiff Road, and the N14 westbound in Centurion has a crash before the R55 Pretoria West exit. In KZN, Chris Hani Road southbound queuing at Connaught Bridge. The N3 westbound is queuing towards Spaghetti Junction. The M7 westbound has a crash before Belleville Road exit at Queensborough. Umgeni Road is slow moving at Samisa Kwanyana Road, and Umhlanga Rocks Drive southbound is slow moving between Sunningdale and Glen Hills. In Cape Town, Lisbeck Parkway southbound is queuing towards the N2 highway. The N7 Jakes Hadwell Drive southbound has a crash at Frans Conrali Drive. Marine Drive northbound is queuing towards Boundary Road. The M5 southbound is queuing towards the N2 highway, and Govan Becky Road in Philippi has a crash reported at Sheffield Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This traffic report is driven by performance. Be prepared to perform with Bridgestone. Be prepared to perform with Bridgestone. Purchase 2 or more tyres at participating dealers and stand a chance to win your share of 2 million rand worth of Samsung products ranging from phones, tablets and TVs. Enter now at bridgestone.co.za. T's and C's apply. Bridgestone. Prepare to perform. This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapeli.
All right, Tumi, let's talk soccer or football. We can talk about Sundowns just now, but the more important one is Orlando Pirates.
Orlando Pirates, they've unveiled their away and home jerseys, and they're going to be joining us in studio just to chat a bit more about the motivation behind the designs. I know that it has something to do with the history of the club, and we'll also be talking to two players just to find out how the preseason has been going thus far. But before that, let's start off with Mamelodi Sundowns, who've confirmed that former Amazulu tactician Romain Folz has been roped in to the technical team ahead of the new season. He's going to be the new assistant coach, and meaning now he's back in South Africa, where he previously coached Marumo Gallants and Amazulu, and he joins Mangoba Mngqithi, Steve Rompela and 2 other coaches in the technical department. And Sundowns says they're looking forward to seeing the wealth of experience that he's going to bring in terms of helping the team to improve in the new season. Then with the Olympic news, there's 4 days to go until the Paris Olympics, and French Foreign Minister Stéphane Sejourne says that Israeli athletes are welcome at the Olympics. This is after a member of the French parliament sparked outrage by urging them to stay away. Now, Israel's team left for the games today with a huge presence of security, as they say that they are expecting a lot of outlash when they arrive in Paris. Meanwhile, SA's middle distance runner Prudence Khodiso says that she's avoiding the pressure of medal expectations in her debut Olympic Games. She clocked a world leading time of 1 minute and 57 seconds in Morocco and an impressive 1 minute 58 seconds in Norway, but Khodiso remains cautious about her chances and says that she's going to refrain from making any promises that she might not be able to fulfill.
Well, I'm not expecting much. I just want to go there and enjoy and just make it to the final. And yeah, anything can happen there. Yeah, that's it. I feel like I don't want to put pressure on myself, and I don't want to give people false hopes. I just want to go there and enjoy.
As we did mention earlier on, the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Gayton McKenzie, is leaving for the Olympic Games on the 27th of July. And elsewhere, NBA's all-time leading point scorer, LeBron James, will be the male flag bearer for Team USA at the Games. And he was picked by his fellow US Olympians, while the female flag bearer will be announced tomorrow. So don't forget to catch the action live on SABC Sport from the 26th of July to the 11th of August. But still staying with Olympic news, Athletics South Africa President James Moloi has re-emphasized their stance around the decision to remove sprinter Luxolo Adams from the Olympic squad. And despite qualifying for the Games with an automatic entry last year, the 200-meter athlete was dropped due to his subsequent absence from competitions and thereby seen as a failure to prove his fitness leading up to the Paris showpiece.
Yeah, but that one is a very simple case because we have explained loud and clear, and then we've put our reasons to say there was I know that is already qualified. We understand everybody's qualified, but the problem is that we were told that it's not fit enough because we have checked the results, we have checked everything, and only to find out again at the same time, we wrote a letter to World Athletics and then to say, can we put extra person, but they refused. They said, no, can't. But on top of that, they even said only 3 best athletes are allowed to compete. So now there were five athletes. The 5 athletes have already qualified for 200 meters. But at the end of the day, we have to select three of the best. So we've already selected 3 of the best. Even if maybe he was going, but the thing is that he was not going to run because now he will be going to be a reserve. So Athletics South Africa took a decision to say we'll finalize our team and then we're not going to move anywhere because of the fitness story. That's all that we can say.
Then in terms of rugby, the Cheetahs have confirmed that Springbok winger Swungosi has tested positive for a banned substance and faces the potential of a 4-year ban. Ngosi tested positive for an anabolic steroid. The 28-year-old could be banned for 4 years if his B sample is also positive. He was also withdrawn on Friday from the franchise's Currie Cup match against the Bulls. In motorsport, McLaren boss Andreas Stella says that he never doubted that Lando Norris would hand back the lead to winning teammate Oscar Piastri in yesterday's Hungarian Grand Prix. This is despite the Britain's clear reluctance. Now, the Italian made clear also that the consequences of ignoring team orders would have been quite severe. Norris started on pole position yesterday, but Piastri took the lead at the start and remained ahead until the second rounds of pit stops when McLaren brought in Norris first to cover against rivals behind. Piastri then lost out in his later stop with Norris ahead, and then the team asked for the positions to be reversed, something the Briton eventually did 3 laps from the end after rising 10 attention over the team radio. This whole thing of the first driver and the second driver and making sure that you allow the one driver ahead of you has always been an interesting scenario, especially in Mercedes, because we also saw it with Lewis Hamilton.
The whole
right?
Formula One is bizarre. I mean, I heard John Hediker talk this morning, and he loves his Formula One. He was speaking on Sakina's show, and he made the point there's a Formula One movie coming up soon. But he said what happened at the Grand Prix this weekend, is a manifestation of a movie, because it's a movie, a 2-hour movie. It's got it all.
Absolutely crazy.
Formula One. Who said it's dull?
Yeah, it's never dull at all. Well, with that said, it's a wrap from my side for now. I'll still be here after the markets.
You're going to have your kit on, eh?
Hopefully.
Are they giving you one?
Hopefully.
Do we get something?
Hopefully.
Imagine me wearing a Pirates kit and Sundown supporters or Chiefs supporters walk past me. What do I tell them? I'm trying to... The dilemma. Let's talk business after this.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, and let's talk money, certainly for now, with the MoneyWeb market update, as always, with Jimmy Moya. Hi, Jimmy. Hi, it's Monday. Lots to reflect on, I'm sure. Okay, I think we're going to connect with Jimmy just in a moment or so. Right. So, Pirates kit issue coming up. Further comments that we have on some of the biggest issues that we've covered, including the pension issues. I think what we've said is what we'll do is this. We need to talk about the pension issue and get a pension administrator, an expert to talk about that. And ideally, we'll do that tomorrow. I think it's that important. I want to just check, in fact, if we have Jimmy connected. We should be. Otherwise, we'll do that right after this. Yeah, I think we do have you. Jimmy, you there, right?
I am, Ashraf. Can you hear me?
Yes, I certainly do. We're into injury time, but go ahead. Money is important. Go ahead and talk to us.
Yes, certainly a lot to dig into with all of the events of the US and what's been unfolding in the markets. It seems very little reaction has been given to the announcements of President Joe Biden not running again. But what we'll be looking into on the show is that and other stories. We'll be looking at the Amplatz conversation. Anglo-American Platinum gave us their interim update today as well. There's a conversation around that. And there's a conversation with 91 around looking at the global picture and understanding how all of these developments, like the developments in the US, affect global products and global strategies, and 91 is best positioned to give us their insights from that perspective. And then we've got a conversation around the Steinhoff matter. If you remember, a couple of weeks ago, I looked into the Steinhoff matter and what was happening with the Reserve Bank having seized funds from the mistress of the late Marcus Jooste. This time around, the Reserve Bank has seized around 6.2 billion rand from Steinhoff themselves. So we're going to look into that, unpack that and see what's happening there. And then because it's Monday, we've got our Personal Finance Monday segments, and we're taking a look at understanding tax-efficient investment strategies. We're going to be speaking to PSG around that, and just trying to understand what you can do from a planning perspective to just optimize your tax efficiencies. But before we get to that, the markets have certainly been moving. Well, some more than others, the Rand not so much. And Henko Kreer has been keeping an eye on those markets for us throughout the day. He joins me now to give us a summary of what's been moving the markets. Good evening, Henko. Thanks as always for keeping an eye on the markets. The Rand against the dollar having very little reaction to that announcement from the US.
Yes, Jimmy, you're quite right. Good evening to you and to Ashraf and to me, and good evening to all of our listeners. Yes, so little reaction there between the dollar and the Rand. But I must say that the US markets quite deep into the green at the moment. The S&P 500 trading 0.7% stronger than NASDAQ, 0.9% up, and then the Dow Jones just behind them at this stage, 0.3% stronger. European stocks, they finished in the green a short while ago. The FTSE 100 finished 0.7% stronger, and the DAX and the CAC 40 each gained 1.5%. A similar picture here by us, where the JSE's All-Share Index gained 0.7% today and closed at a higher level of 80,492 points. The Industrial Index finished 1.7% up, and the Financial Index 0.7% stronger, but the Resources Index lost 1.1% today. Sasol gave us great and stellar performance today. It finished 6.6% stronger, and there was also SAPI, which gained 4.5%. On the negative side of things, and Jimmy, you and your market commentator can discuss, South 32 during your market update at 6 o'clock as to why South 32 finished 13% down at the end of the day. We see some other mining companies like Harmony and DRD Gold. They each lost 5% today, followed by Implats and Sibanye-Stillwater, as well as Goldfields, losing 2.5% each. Then Naspers and Prosus came back with vengeance today. They each finished the day 3% stronger, and AB InBev and British American Tobacco each gained 1.5%. Then if we have a look at the exchange rate, at the moment 18 Rand 28 to the US dollar, 19 Rand 90 to the euro, 12 Rand 14 to the Australian dollar, and 23 Rand 60 cents to the British pound. On the commodities market, the price of gold is $2,387 an ounce, silver on the dot $29, platinum $945, and palladium $906 an ounce. And the oil price currently $82.19 a barrel. And then lastly but not least, the price of a Bitcoin is $66,800, and that is 1,240,000 rand. And Jimmy, that's how the markets performed today.
Thank you very much for that update, Henko. We'll certainly be looking to dig into these and other stories. I'll see if I can find an answer for you on that South 32 development there, and we'll be back a little later on with those answers. For now, Ashraf, back to you and the team.
Perfect. Great. Looking forward to your show coming up after 6 o'clock. Right. So Orlando Pirates will have their kit reveal coming up just now. I'll look at some of the other comments. Here's one. Not sure who it is. Ashraf, not even Marcus Huester could survive with Steinhoff's millions. He had to steal more. And another one, Ashraf, don't try and defend the indefensible. Your guest with an American accent did not seem to have a clue, really. I don't know what you're referring to here in terms of, no, in fact, you're talking about the U.S. In terms of the Democratic Party and the Republicans and the changes there. Well, we have different people, different opinions. You obviously have yours and I have mine. Let's get further comments via WhatsApp. And it goes back to the issue of AfriForum that we spoke about earlier.
Hey, Ashraf, I just think that the AfriForum will not be able to justify to their funders their existence if they do not go for after black professionals. It's just one of the things they do, going after black professionals. It's Julius, now it's Dr. Hlophe, so it's going to be shifting. Julius Hlophe. Well, just to sustain the funding, I guess. Thanks, Bongi here.
Got that, Bongi. Interesting point you make. You see, your point is a conundrum for many. I hear what you're saying. But the other one is, do they have a point about someone who's impeached as a legal person now, still operating, giving and appointing other legal people to the same organization that impeached him in the first place? I mean, do you see how one can turn that issue around? So we've been speaking about the city of Joburg and the stance of Action SA. You're someone who's not so happy.
Hi, Ashraf Mokocho here from Velcom. I'm disappointed with Action SA by working with the ANC in Gauteng and Johannesburg. After I voted for them to take the ANC out. I mean, how can they trust those thugs? Those thugs from Freely House.
Okay, got that, thugs. Well, here's my point, and I said so before the election, on air and even on social media platforms. I said, the problem is, and it's complex, that's not what you need. You need 2 votes. You need 1 vote to vote for your party of choice that you actually want to vote for, and the 1 vote to tell your party who they should collaborate with if they do not get a 50+1 majority. I can talk more, but I can tell you now, Tumi is like wanting to bang this door down because she's got Orlando Pirates in the house. So let's get to her.
SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365. Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Regarding the prisoner that we're talking about in the first place, did you say has been taken or will be taken against?
We have, because in terms of the Correctional Services Act, it is illegal to have a mobile phone in a correctional facility. That remand detainee has been charged and has also been moved to a maximum correctional center, because clearly being in a remand facility, he doesn't see it as an appropriate center to house him. So he has been moved. Perhaps where he is now, he will then have respect for the victims of crime. Also, set of knowledge that he's in a correctional facility because he has committed crime or alleged to have committed crime, because he's still trial awaiting. He's attending to court cases.
The spokesperson for Correctional Services, that's Singabako Numalo.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m. SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation. X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
So one of the things about sport that I love is, besides, watching the teams and winning and losing and, that sort of thing in all different sports, one of the great things are the football or the sports kits that they wear, whether it's football, rugby, cricket, whatever the jerseys, Olympic Games as well. And many people keep them as part of their memorabilia, right? So you hold on to them because they've got a whole history. Some of them got a sponsor's name. Sometimes the sponsors change, the logos change, all of that. The colors change as well. So now we have Orlando Pirates, and it's part of their big reveal, of course, ahead of the new season. So, Tumi, I'm going to leave it to you to lead the way here as we talk Pirates.
Yes, we're talking all things Pirates, and they're finally here. Welcome, guys. We have the head of the media liaison at Orlando Pirates, Thandi Merafe, and we've got two players also just joining us in this studio. They look very nervous. Silailo Raseboja and Talente Bata. How are you guys doing this afternoon? I know, we're good. I mean, we're looking at this jersey, which looks very interesting. We have the away and the home kit. Let's start off with you, Thandi. What was the inspiration behind this jersey?
Firstly, good evening to the listeners. Thank you, SAFM, for affording us this opportunity to be on your platform. Evening, Ashraf, and Tumi, all protocol observed. I've said good evening for everybody. I can't help it, I know. I just had to go with it.
You know what? The only protocol that matters here is we have listeners who love pirates and listeners who don't love pirates, but they're still listening.
Ashraf, don't expose yourself. But it's just one of those. I've always wanted to see a protocol observed on radio, so bucket list check. In terms of the jersey, I think just going to show you here at the back, we've got the name of James Sofasonke Mpanza. He is one of the founding fathers of Orlando Pirates Football Club. Back in the day when they founded the club, it was the Orlando Boys Club, and which later became Orlando Pirates. And we wanted to honor his spirit, his memory, what he's done for the club, what he's done for the country as well. Because back in the day, there was this little thing that's called Group Areas Act, and which kept us restricted in terms of our movement. And Orlando was literally the first and only township at the time. So James Sofasonke Mpanza decided that he's going to lead a group of little over 2,000 people to go and find other areas to settle in. With time, those areas became the southwestern townships, which you now know as Soweto. So with that in mind, we wanted to say, he's one of the founding members that founded the club. We wanted to honor that memory, and we wanted to honor the spirit of Makepula, because that's what the club is about. One of our, we call ourselves Orlando Pirates, is Makepula Zakepulu Mhlaba Gamaspala Zaupegisa Phezulu, and that's basically what it means, that we never allow our circumstances to define us, whether you're born in abject poverty, whether there's political oppression or any other oppression. That does not define the person. That does not define the spirit of that person, and we embrace that. And when you've been here since 1937, that's a very long time. So in order for us to stay true to the cause of always being always being pioneers, always fighting for what's just, having a just cause. It's also important to recognize the past, the people that have put us here.
Okay,
yep.
Right. So name at the back, that's significant. I mean, we've got a picture of that, right? We need to see that.
Yeah.
And then tell us about the front, right? That's on the back of the
back of the
away
jersey,
kit, not
yes.
of the home kit, right?
It's on the back of both jerseys. Both the home kit and away kit have the name of James Sofasonke Mpanza at the back, and the home kit is black. Very beautiful jersey, as you can see. Looking good.
Well,
yeah, with the red stripe. And the away kit is true green. And, you know, as much as we believe in staying true to our identity as a club, we also get to play a bit with the away kit, introduce new colors, exciting colors, you know, to stay relevant and obviously attract the youth market. That's also important.
You may want
as
to
well
ask something about the technical aspects of the kit besides the colors, yeah?
Absolutely. I mean, it looks great. I want to find out from you. What are your thoughts, Lilo, in terms of the kit, you wearing the away kit, and you new in the club also, how has it been for you in terms of the difference between coming up the ranks of SuperSport United and now you with Orlando Pirates, a team that you said was definitely a dream come true for you?
If you can speak close to the mic, right? Just as close as possible, both when you do get a chance, right? Thank you.
Thank you, SAFM, for having us here. Truly blessed to be here. I think the jersey looks very nice, you know, as us players, when you look good, you feel good and you play good. And so I think it also adds to our, you know, our confidence in terms of how we look in the pitch. And yeah, for me, being with the guys in Spain, they welcomed me very well. I don't want to lie. Talent has been with me. I think it's 4 years now we come together from the SuperSport United.
Yeah. So is he the one that welcomed you at the club?
Yeah. He was the first person that I told when I heard that the club is interested in me. And you know, he received the news well. He congratulated me up until I signed and eventually joining the club. You know, we've always had good chemistry, me and him, and even off the field, we spent some time together. So it was not really coming to a new environment entirely, because most of the guys, I knew them, Dito and them. I was also with him at SuperSport United. So it's a very nice, you know, environment.
So it's like home away from home.
Yeah, it's a very nice environment. Everyone is welcoming, and it is honestly a dream come true to be part of this big institution.
I think I'm interested in the experience of Spain, playing against a club like Sevilla, Talente. For you guys, going there, playing well against the Sevilla side, I mean, how was the experience?
I'd like to say it was a great experience. And it's something that tells us also that we have to push, because they also played good football. I can't take that away. And we are in an environment where it was too hot for us. But when we left South Africa, we told ourselves that we're also a big team in South Africa, so let's go prove them that even in SA, there's also football. Because it's everyone's dream to go overseas and play there, but if we get a chance here in the PSL, it's also a dream come true for us also who come from South Africa. So I think it's where you have to go and prove yourself that you have the qualities to play overseas also. So it was a great experience.
Okay. Let me ask you guys, I mean, we'll talk about the kit, because you can talk about the football side. Yeah. So I'm interested to know, I mean, the dominant colours of Orlando Pirates is black, and that's really the colours they're known for, right? Yeah. And then you, lately, the last few years, the red has been introduced as the second colour of Orlando Pirates. In terms of the second strip, which is like a teal sort of colour, right? Why? What's the colour called officially?
True green.
True green. All right. Why this colour? And does that change every year? Because often with second strips, teams do change that colour, right?
Look, like I said, we've been having fun with the away kit. As much as, like I said earlier, we have a profound history, a very long history. We also embrace the youthful side of things, and we look to keep it fresh, keep it moving, have a bit of newness to the club. And obviously, we don't want to become an old elephant, as it were. We need to keep up with the times, with the current trends, and be attractive to the youth market. That's how we can ensure sustainability of the club, as long as the youth are interested in the club and following the club. So that's what we do with the away kit. Keep it young, keep it youthful, keep it interesting, and keep it fun. Over the years, there was a full-on red kit. I think that's when we started experimenting with the different colors. We've had orange, we've had teal, we've had pistachio green last season. So we always have fun with that, and the colors are always different and always have an impact in
okay. So there's about a minute and a half to go. I've got two quick questions, and you can then say the final goodbyes. One, the players will wear the kits, but of course the big part for football memorabilia is like they get sold, right?
Yeah.
What are they selling for?
So as of today, with today being the launch, we were selling exclusively at our shop at Orlando Stadium, and it was amazing. Just the queues were just going all around the corner and all the way around the corner, and we've got a lot of enthusiasts. Bus faithful that have got the kit today, and as of the 25th, for those that still need to budget and wait for month end a bit, as of the 25th, it's going to be available nationwide. You can also get it online. Over and above the normal kit that you'll get, we've also catered for women and children. You can get a ladies cut. You can get a special ladies cut. You can get a kiddies cut, both girls and boys. And yeah, so.
Okay, how much? We got a minute to go. How much?
It's 1.2.
1.2, 1,200 bucks.
1,000. It is worth it, and we hold the record of selling out our jerseys every season.
How many jerseys do you sell in a year? What's your budget?
Look, the challenge that we have is that we'll get kit and loads of kit for the season. It gets sold out mid-season. We're struggling to find jerseys. That's how bad it is.
Okay, but how many jerseys do you sell?
We sell everything that's on stock. Not only
is
at
10,000, is it 100,000 jerseys you're selling?
It's hundreds of thousands to be.
I need to find out because that's your business.
The entire. I mean, you look at all the sports shops. You look at Eddie shops. You look at our shop. We're also selling online. It is a lot of jerseys. But what's amazing is it's the support from the fans, and because our jerseys are so stylish and so appealing. I mean, the partnership we've had with Adidas has been for over 30 years, and that just bears testament to how these two brands complement each other. We're always stylish because of them.
We moved into extra time now. You want to say anything in conclusion?
I think I like the black one.
Okay. She's made a pitch for the black one.
Guys, thank you very much for coming through, and looking forward to seeing how the public is actually going to receive these jerseys that way.
Well, if you've got a black one now, we can take a picture of you and post in our social media pages like right away. All I can say is we end the show. I heard this from an old uncle a long, long time ago, and he said, if you can't play like a footballer, at least look like a footballer. Look smart. That means you need to buy the kit. So we'll see who wants to look like a footballer. That's the show. It's always called the National Pulse, and it certainly got your pulse rate racing. Lots of people saying up the bucks. So there you are. We'll see if Greg Host believes it's up the bucks. I expect a loud cheer. If he keeps quiet and goes straight to the news, then he supports some other team. It's 6 o'clock now. Time for the news with Greg.
Oh my, Ashraf, I think I'll reserve judgment at this point. In this news update, petrol price hike on the cards. That's good news, and a call for better answers from ministers. Good evening. The Automobile Association says motorists